Chapter 831. Jun Changshao waved his folding fan and stood on the martial arts practice field. If there was a projection array at this time, it would definitely charm thousands of girls. However, such an elegant and graceful man was able to expel the poison in her body in such a manner. Well, the miasma outside was gone, but there was another kind, patriarch. Jiangye transmitted his voice. There are a lot of poisons gathered here, and it is difficult for the antidote to dissolve them. Don't fall for it. Swish! Jun Changshao waved his hand and threw the modified multi-purpose vacuum cleaner over, saying, "See if you can suck the poison out." This. Jiangye was stunned. However, thinking that old Ding's evil aura could be absorbed, the poison gas should be able to as well. Thus, he grabbed the handle and directly pressed the flat vacuum nozzle against Elder Wei's face. Paw! Start the first gear. Hoo-hoo! The strong suction force suddenly burst out, and the black poison that could be seen with the naked eye surged along Elder Wei's skin and was then absorbed into the vacuum cleaner. Yes! Jiangye was overjoyed. Jun Changshao heaved a sigh of relief and said to himself, "Sure enough, the poison gas is not clean either." "Palace Master Miao," he said lightly, "I came personally as you wished. As the master, isn't it a bit inappropriate to hide in the dark?" In the depths of the poisonous fog, a graceful figure gradually appeared, saying, "Jun Patriarch, I didn't invite you. First, I sent Tu Wu Huang, and now you came yourself. What is your intention?" "It's very simple," Jun Changshao said, "hand over Palace Master Shi." Since the vacuum cleaner could solve the poison, Elder Wei and Jiangye could be considered safe. Next, he would take Shi Jingxian away. Although he was bronze in love, if he saved his own people and left her here, then it would really be a godly operation. Gradually, Miao Saifeng appeared from the poisonous fog. This was a slender and beautiful woman. Her black hair flowed down like a waterfall, and her eyes were as clear as a stream. Jun Changshao said, "Palace Master Miao is extraordinarily beautiful. She doesn't cultivate martial arts but rather poison. I'm afraid no man would dare to marry her in this lifetime." Miao Saifeng was indeed pretty. If the full score was 10, he would get at least 8.5. However, Jun Gosheng didn't have the slightest ripple. It was enough to show that his ability to resist beauty was very profound, or perhaps he suffered from face blindness and couldn't tell who was beautiful and who wasn't. Miao Saifeng smiled and said, "Jun Patriarch cares so much about Palace Master Shi. Could it be that the two of you are related?" "Cut the crap," Jun Changshao said with a cold face, "if you don't hand him over quickly, I will raze this place to the ground." Very fierce. Very manly. Kakik. Miao Saifeng covered her mouth and laughed. She laughed like a blooming flower. After a while, his gaze gradually turned cold. "Jun Changshao, do you really think my 9-poison temple is a soft persimmon? Otherwise?" As Jun Changshao's voice fell, a vigorous qi domain erupted and instantly enveloped the martial arts field. The thousands of disciples within were immediately suppressed to the point that they were frozen in place like stone statues. Their eyes were filled with shock. At that moment, they could feel that if the other party was slightly unhappy, he could kill them with a thought. The 9 poison temple disciples were generally at the martial disciple and martial master level. In front of the peak sword and martial dual emperor Jun Changshao, they could only be considered as ants. Elder Wei and Jiangye could also do it. Unfortunately, after being hit by the poisonous cloud, recklessly releasing the qi domain would accelerate the poison's corrosion. It was strange to say. Miao Saifeng didn't suppress it. Instead, she smiled and said, "Jun Patriarch's skill is profound. It is admirable." Jun Changshao said, "Palace Master Miao is so fearless. Is it because of the 9 poisons that your 9-poison temple is so proud of?" "Jun Patriarch, didn't you notice that when you released the qi domain, the poison had already seeped into your body?" Miao Saifeng smiled. Jun Changshao frowned. The moment the qi domain was released, the poison in the air quickly merged into the body and attached to each meridian. Miao Sifeng smiled and said, "This is the heart-devouring poison. It is one of the 9 poisons of my 9-poison temple. As long as someone releases their aura or explodes their cultivation, it will take the opportunity to enter." "Che!" Jun Changshao said indifferently, "It's just a small poison. It can't do anything to me. I forgot to tell Jun Patriarch." Miao Sifeng smiled and said, "The stone floor under your feet is stained with one of the 9 poisons, the heart-devouring poison. If you are hit by it, the poison will also enter." Jun Changshao felt the poison seeping into the soles of his feet. He shook his head and said, "No wonder the 2 Wu Huang from my sect were trapped here. Your 9-poison temple is really hard to guard against." However, he paused and said, "What about the other poisons?" Miao Sifeng frowned slightly. The heart-devouring poison and the heart-devouring poison had entered his body. The poison should have already taken effect. How could this person be so calm? Could it be that he was strong enough to suppress it temporarily? As expected of the patriarch of the sect of all times, whose name has spread far and wide in the Jianghu. You can still talk and laugh while resisting 2 of my poisons. Miao Sifeng said coldly. "You flatter me." Jun Changshao said modestly. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, Miao Sifeng waved her hand and dozens of cold lights flew over. Jun Changshao waved his sleeve and caught all the silver needles and concealed weapons in his hand. He smiled and said, "If I'm not wrong, this should be one of the 9 poisons of your 9-poison temple." Miao Sifeng smiled and said, "Since you know, you still dare to use your hand to catch it. Jun Patriarch is really bold. There are still 6 poisons left. Let's use them all." Jun Changshao said, "Today, I want to test whether the 9 poisons of the 9-poison temple are the best in the world." Jiang Ye, who was helping Elder Wei absorb the poison, almost fell to the ground when he heard this. "Patriarch, if you can still withstand it, why don't you just take this woman down? Why do you have to experience the 9 poisons?" Jiang Ye didn't understand what it meant to be pretentious. "Jun Patriarch, with your cultivation level, 1 poison might not be effective. But now that 3 poisons have entered your body, even if you have Wuxing's cultivation level, you can only wait for the poison to take effect and die." Miao Sifeng said proudly. In terms of cultivation level, she and her disciples couldn't compare to the 5th-rate sects, but they had absolute confidence in the way of poison. "So you don't plan to use other poisons?" Jun Changshao asked. Seeing this guy's calm and collected expression, Miao Sifeng wanted to press his face to the ground and rub it. It's very difficult to refine the 9 poisons of the 9-poison temple. Naturally, I won't waste them for you. All right. Jun Changshao said, "Then I'll show you my incompetence." Whoosh! His body suddenly burst into colorful flames. It was quite colorful. Miao Sifeng's smile froze. Her almond-shaped eyes widened as she said, "Scarlet Star Absolute Flame. Purple Mystic Sacred Flame. Heavenly Spirit Blue Flame. You have the body of sacred flame that can incinerate everything. What else?" Jun Changshao, who was in the flames, was like a fire god descending to the mortal world. The intense heat that spread out burned everything around him. Under the burning of the strongest flames, all poisons were reduced to nothingness. Puff! Suddenly, billowing smoke came out of his butt. Elder Wei and Jiang Ye behind him heard it and immediately rolled their eyes and collapsed. Most of the disciples of the 9-poison temple were not spared. They fainted on the spot, but because of the suppression of their qi domain, they were still able to maintain their standing posture. Miao Sifeng's expression completely collapsed. This guy was the leader of a sect. How could he do such a shameless and uncivilized thing in public? Swoosh! Jun Changshao appeared in front of Miao Sifeng. His hands suddenly stretched out, and tore apart the invisible barrier of the array. Then, he grabbed her delicate neck, and pulled her back. With a bang, he pressed her against the wall of the main hall. From the perspective of a romance drama. This was a domineering CEO pushing a woman against the wall, and then coldly saying, "Woman, love me." However, Jun Changshao, however, locked onto the other's throat. His gaze was cold as he said, "Hand over Palace Master Shi, and this seat will spare your life." Crack, with a little force, the crisp sound of bones could be heard. Protective feelings for the fairer sex? It didn't exist. Chapter 832. The Qi domain released by Jun Changshao was extremely strong. Even Wu Huang of the same level might not be able to withstand it. Why was Miao Saifeng, whose cultivation level was lower than Wu Zong's, not affected? Because there was an array that not only enveloped her, but also the main hull. Jun Changshao, who had attainments in array formations, was the first to discover it, so he decided to break the array. In order not to arouse the woman's vigilance, he deliberately endured the 3 poisons. So, from this, it could be seen that Jun Changshao was not trying to show off, nor was he trying to show off his sacred flame body, but had his own thoughts. Miao Saifeng's face became more and more sinister, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. The 3 poisons gathered in his body, even if they could not poison him to death, they should be able to restrict his cultivation from exploding. How could he still rush over so recklessly? Moreover, there was an extremely strong defensive array in front of him. Why was it so easily broken? Miao Saifeng was able to face Jun Changshao fearlessly because of the poison and array formations that existed everywhere in the sect. When these 2 things did not work, then she was really inferior to an ant. Crack! He increased the strength of his hand. Jun Changshao said coldly, "I have many methods to make your death more painful than being poisoned." Cough! Cough! Miao Saifeng was pinched so hard that her breathing became rapid, and her face became more and more sinister. This woman was also arrogant. Even if she was in a life and death situation, she still had no intention of compromising. "Speak." Jun Changshao said coldly, "Where is Palace Master Shi?" He had already released his spiritual sense, but there were many arrays and poisonous fog areas in the 9 Poison Palace, so he was unable to search in detail. The system collapsed. Loosen up a little, let him talk to you. That's true. Jun Changshao retracted his strength. As a result, Miao Saifeng's pain was alleviated a lot, and she tried to squeeze out a smile. "Jun Patriarch. Since you care so much about Shi Jingxian, she should be your lover. What do you mean?" Jun Changshao could tell that there was a hidden meaning in her words. Miao Saifeng's smile became more sinister and terrifying. "My 9 poisons temple has 9 types of poisons. 4 of them can be used directly and the other 5 cannot be used directly because they are stored in the poison abyss." Crack! Jun Changshao increased the strength of his hand once more and said coldly, "You threw Palace Master Shi into the poison abyss? All 5 poisons are present, there's no cure." Miao Saifeng said ferociously, "There is a valley to the west of the palace. If you go there now, maybe you can see your lover one last time." Boom! Jun Changshao directly grabbed her head and slammed it against the wall, causing her to faint on the spot. Then, he quickly flew towards the west of the main hall. Palace Master! Following his departure, the Qi domain also dissipated. The disciples of the 9 Venoms Temple all rushed over. "Paw!" Jiangye fiercely pulled the mouth away from his face. Circulating his dantian, he roared, "Let's see who dares to move." Hoo-hoo! The Qi domain exploded and filled the entire training field. The disciples of the 9 Venoms Temple who had just broken free from the bindings slowed down again and then froze on the spot. This was not a direct suppression, but a shock from the angry roar. With the poison in his body gone, Elder Jiang regained his masculinity. As for Elder Wei, although the poison had been removed, he was still in a daze on the spot. "When I was young, for my brothers and my career, I gave up on love. In the end, I didn't manage to protect anything. My heart was throbbing with pain." Elder Wei. Jiangye's imagination went wild. "Your name has Feng, and her name has Feng. Could she be your daughter?" "Don't talk nonsense. Elder Wei said, although Cece and I were in love, we did not do anything that crossed the line. He was very sentimental, but it did not mean that he had to take one down just because he loved one. Compared to a scumbag who pulled up his pants and turned his back on him, he was better. West of the main hall, there was a valley surrounded by poisonous gas. This was the forbidden area of the Nine Venoms Temple. Without the orders of the higher-ups, no one was allowed to enter. At this moment, in the central area of the valley, Zhangsun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue were tied to a pillar. Although their eyes were filled with endless anger, their faces were abnormally weak. The two of them were poisoned. It was similar to cartilage powder. Elders. A beautiful woman in her early 20s smiled and said, if you had elected me as the Palace Lord of Ingenious Flower Palace back then, we would not have ended up like this. Tan Huiying. Ling Xingyue reprimanded, we have long seen that you have evil intentions. Why would we have handed the position of Palace Lord to you? Tan Huiying gritted her teeth and said, Shi Jingxian killed her father and mother, something that is intolerable by the heavens. Do you think she has evil intentions? There is a reason, stop talking. Tan Huiying said coldly, today, I will let the blind girl that you have painstakingly elected die in this poisonous abyss. Zhangsun Fanghua rebuked angrily, Tan Huiying, if you dare to harm the Palace Lord, Grand Elder will definitely not forgive you. Grand Elder? Tan Huiying sneered disapprovingly, don't think that she has already entered the Emperor stage. Coming to the Nine Poisons Palace is just a suicide mission. Zhangsun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue's expressions were ugly. They really did not expect that a fifth-rate sect would be so powerful that they would be poisoned as soon as they entered. If they had known that this would be the result, they would not have let the Palace Lord come no matter what. Oh, right. Tan Huiying smiled sinisterly, the sect of all time sent 2 elders, but they are now trapped in the poisonous clouds. Their cultivation is also Wu Huang. Do you still think that Grand Elder can do anything to me? The sect of all time sent people? Zhangsun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue were overjoyed. Although they had always been wary of Jun Changshao and did not want to get too close to the Palace Lord, they had to admit that this person was very strong. Now that he sent people over, he must have known that the Palace Lord was trapped in the Nine Poisons Palace. Tan Huiying. Ling Xingyue said coldly, you dare to offend the people of the sect of all times? Just wait for your sect to be destroyed. Destroyed? Tan Huiying sneered, let's see if Wu Sheng can do it. As she spoke, she walked to the mouth of the well and said, Shi Jingxian, you stole my position as the Palace Lord back then. Today, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. Paw! She grabbed the joystick beside her. This well was the poison abyss, and the joystick was the activation device. As long as it was pulled down, 5 types of poison would spurt out. At that time, if a cultivator came into contact with even the slightest bit of poison, they would be incurable and die painfully from the various poisons. Senior Sister Tan. Shi Jingxian, who was in the poison abyss, said powerlessly, in your eyes, is the position of the Palace Lord so important? Although she would act like a little girl in front of Jun Changshao, she could be so calm in the face of death. It was enough to show that she had a big heart. If I lost to the other sect members, I naturally wouldn't care. Tan Huiying gritted her teeth and said, but to lose to a blind person like you, I really can't accept it. Shi Jingxian said, this is the wish of the Grand Elder and the elders. I can only obey. I have no intention of stealing Senior Sister's position as the Palace Lord. Stop acting pitiful here. Tan Huiying said angrily. Caw! The joystick was suddenly pulled down, and the mouth of the well was immediately completely sealed by a special stone slab. Chapter 833. Boom! The stone slab completely sealed the well, and the interior was instantly plunged into darkness. If it were anyone else, they would have been scared out of their wits. However, Shi Jingxian was calm because she had lived in darkness since she was born. Am I going to die? She huddled in a corner and hugged her curled-up legs with great difficulty. It wasn't because she was afraid, but because she was too weak due to the poison. Whoosh! Whoosh! 5 colored poisonous gas slowly spewed out from the cracks and gradually gathered in the well. At that moment, Shi Jingxian realized that she was about to die, but there was no fear on her face. Instead, there was relief. Facing darkness every day made her fearless of death. However, not being able to complete the previous Palace Lord's mission to bring Ingenious Flower Palace to the next level was her greatest regret. Also, Shi Jingxian buried her head in her knees and murmured, "I couldn't see June Patriarch's face clearly." In her dark life, there was only a brief moment of light. At that time, she remembered a blurry face. Although it was different from what she imagined, at least she could think about it when she was free. Someone would ask, why did Shi Jingxian care about June Changshao? The reason was that after more than 20 years of darkness, a person finally appeared in her sight. June Patriarch. Shi Jingxian blamed herself. "I've troubled you." She heard what Tan Huiying said just now and knew that the Sect of all times had sent an elder here. Whoosh! Whoosh! More and more poisons gathered in the poison abyss. They were emotionless and merciless as they seeped into this weak woman's body. Shi Jingxian felt a headache coming on. She felt very sleepy and tired, so she lay down gently. Whoosh! Tan Huiying grabbed the sword beside her and walked toward Zhangsun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue. The 5 poisons in the poison abyss are all strange poisons in the world. Anyone who touches them will die without a doubt. Zhangsun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue's expressions changed drastically. Ha ha ha. Tan Huiying laughed like a madwoman. Then, she approached step by step. Back then, I served you carefully, hoping to be valued. But in the end, I was expelled from the sect. Why? Why? Because you only want to become the Palace Lord. I have strength and talent. I'm 100 times stronger than Shi Jingxian. Why can't I be the Palace Lord? If you want to know the reason, I'll tell you today. Zhangsun Fanghua raised her head with difficulty. Before the previous Palace Lord left, he deduced that if Shi Jingxian succeeds the position of Palace Lord, the sect will be even more glorious. If you succeed the position of Palace Lord, you will only walk towards destruction. The Palace Master was in deep danger, and he himself was unable to break free. Since he was going to die either way, there was no harm in revealing the secret of the past. So that's the reason why Shi Jingxian inherited the position of Palace Master and abandoned me. Ha ha ha. Tan Huiying stopped laughing and her expression gradually turned sinister. But from the looks of it, her deductions were wrong. Allowing Blind to inherit the position of Palace Master would lead to destruction. Shua! He suddenly brandished his sword, chopping towards Zhangsun Fanghua. This woman had already lost her mind. Not only did she want to kill Shi Jingxian, she also wanted to kill the upper echelons of Miaohua Palace. Because this was the only way to deny the previous Palace Master's deduction and prove that the woman had taken over as Palace Master and was the culprit behind the sect's destruction. Zhangsun Fanghua closed her eyes. The Palace Lord was trapped in the poison abyss and had to endure the corrosion of the 5 poisons. He had failed to protect her. He had let down the previous Palace Master and the ancestors in the underworld. Ding! Suddenly, a clear and melodious sound was heard. Zhangsun Fanghua sensed the sound of a sword brushing past her neck, so she hurriedly opened her eyes. In her field of vision, a man in white landed. Although his back was facing her, she instantly thought of that man. Looking at the sword that had been broken by a ray of light, Tan Huiying said in surprise, "Who are you?" Smack. June Changshao grabbed her neck and lifted her up. He said coldly, "Where's Palace Master Shi?" The system complained, "Only when the host is ruthless will he take advantage of other girls like crazy, although, the method is a bit extreme." June Patriarch. Ling Xingyue was the first to come back to her senses. She hurriedly said, "The Palace Master is locked in the well in front. There are 5 types of deadly poison inside." Shi and Zhangsun Fanghua had already given up. However, Jun Changxiao's appearance was like a life-saving straw for the two of them, reigniting their hope. This man was very strong and unusual. He could definitely save the palace master from danger. Shua! Jun Changxiao found the sealed well. He dragged Tan Huiying over and said, "Open it." I can't open it," Tan Huiying's voice was hoarse. "Only when the poison gas dissipates will it automatically, bang." Before she could finish speaking, she was thrown to the ground. Jun Changxiao used a lot of strength. Tan Huiying's meridians were damaged, and she lost the ability to stand up. She endured the pain, but she was thinking about how he had broken through the main hall of the Nine Poisons Palace, where the palace master and the higher-ups were. Boom! Jun Changxiao stood in front of the sealed well. He poured spiritual energy into his fist and punched the stone slab. However, it didn't budge. The system said, "This is a stone with extremely high density. If you want to break it, Jun Changxiao raised his fist again. Iron blocks instantly gathered around him as if he was wearing an Iron Man's gloves. Fine. Pretend I didn't say anything." Under the activation of the mechanical armed wings, Jun Changxiao gathered all the spiritual energy in his body and punched the stone slab. This punch could be said to be quite explosive. Not only did it shatter with a bang, it also turned into powder. Ho! The moment the well was blasted open, the 5 poisons inside crazily rushed out. Shua! Jun Changxiao jumped down without any hesitation. He fell to the bottom of the well and picked up Shi Jingxian, who was trapped in the poisonous fog. The whole process was very short. When he landed outside the well, he only felt that the 5 poisons that had seeped into his body were crazily disturbing his meridians. The discomfort it brought was even more intense than the other 3 poisons. Ho! The flame in his body burst out and spread instantly. The strongest and fiercest flame purified all the poisons. Only then did his eyebrows gradually relax. Tan Huiying leaned to the side. Seeing Jun Changxiao jump down and still be able to jump back up as if nothing had happened, her eyes almost popped out. The 5 poisons were present. He was dead for sure. How could this guy come out safe and sound after going in? Shua! There was no time to think, because Tan Huiying suddenly felt that her body was floating, and then she fell upside down into the well. So, ignoring the pain all over her body, she screamed in despair, "No, ah!" Tragic screams came from the poison abyss. The pain caused by the 5 poisons seeping into Tan Huiying's body was really indescribable. Zhangsun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue, who were tied up, felt a chill on their backs. They looked at Shi Jingxian, who was lying in Jun Changxiao's arms, and shouted sorrowfully, "Master! I'm sorry." Jun Changxiao lowered his head and said, "I'm late." He was not talking to Shi Jingxian, but to the 2 elders. The woman in his arms seemed to be sleeping, but when she was rescued, she was already not breathing, heartbeat, and lifeless. Sigh. The system sighed. Beautiful women are unfortunate. Chapter 834. When Jun Changxiao was interrogating Miao Saifeng, Tan Huiying had already pulled down the joystick. Although she rushed over as fast as she could and violently broke through the layers of arrays, she was still a step too late. Shi Jingxian had been poisoned too deeply and had long lost her life. With all 5 poisons present, she would definitely die. As long as it seeped into the body of a martial artist, even an immortal would find it difficult to save them. Zhangsun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue saw the palace master's hands hanging down and immediately felt sad, tears welling up in their eyes. They thought that with Jun Patriarch's arrival, the palace master would be able to avert the disaster, but the result was still irreversible. "I'm sorry," Jun Changxiao stood in place with Shi Jingxian in his arms. Self-blame and pain flooded his sea of consciousness like a flood. If he had taken the 9 poisons temple to heart and personally came to rescue her, she would not have died. "It's my fault. It's all my fault." Jun Changxiao and Shi Jingxian were not like what Miao Saifeng thought. But after all, they had known each other for a long time and could be considered friends. Now that she had died, how could he not be heartbroken? Huff huff, suddenly, a strong murderous intent surged around Jun Changshao. There was only one thought in his mind, which was to destroy the 9 Poisons Temple and burn all the poisons here. Zhang Sun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue looked at the murderous man with fear in their eyes. At this moment, it was as if they were not looking at a human, but a demon from hell. Cough, suddenly, there was a light gasp. Jun Changshao, who was about to set fire to the mountain, was stunned. He hurriedly looked down and saw Shi Jingxian opening her small mouth and breathing rapidly, as if she had been holding her breath for a long time. Her pale face gradually regained its color. She was not dead. She was still alive. Huff huff. Suddenly, a strong wave of air erupted from Shi Jingxuan's body. Her hair was blown away, and red lines appeared on the left side of her face, like some kind of strange tattoo. Jun Changshao was stunned. Ever since he met Shi Jingxian, they did not fall in love. This woman's bangs had always covered half of her face. At first, he thought that it might be such a hairstyle. Now that there was a pattern on his face, it meant that he was deliberately covering it up. Jun Changshao didn't have time to think. He grabbed Shi Jingxuan's wrist with one hand. Although he could feel a slight pulse, there were 5 types of toxins and another strange aura crazily fighting against each other in her body. Situation. He was still in imminent danger. Ding! The host has spent 1,000 contribution points and received a magically modified multifunctional vacuum cleaner X1. It has been transported into the space ring. Ding! Before the notification ended, Jun Changshao placed Shi Jingxian on the ground, took out the vacuum cleaner he had just bought, and placed it on his wrist with the mouth facing his face. With a snap, he turned on the 3rd gear. The system had never seen the host purchase goods at such a fast speed. It would be great if he could buy things so quickly every time. It was a matter of life and death. Jun Changshao could not afford any delays. Phew, with 3 levels of suction, the 5 types of toxins in Shi Jingxuan's body that were fighting against another type of aura were immediately sucked out. Jun Changshao breathed a sigh of relief. However, Zhang Sun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue were stunned. What was that guy doing to the palace master with something that looked like a broom in his hand? There were many ways to detoxify. The most common way was for the detoxifier to sit cross-legged behind the poisoned person, place both palms on the person's back, and force the toxins out of the body with deep internal strength. The most awesome was the yin and yang harmony detoxification method. In this situation, the poisoned person and the detoxifier had to be a man or a woman. If anyone thinks that a man or a woman is fine, please go to the hospital for a psychological examination. I will pay for the medical expenses. Jun Changshao did not take the normal path. He used a vacuum cleaner to detoxify the beauty in a desperate situation. The effect was very good. In a short while, all 5 types of toxins were sucked away. However, the other attribute that existed in the body was also sucked over. Jun Changshao was stunned. After many tests, the energy that was sucked away by the vacuum cleaner was not normal, such as evil aura, demonic aura, and poisonous gas. It was understandable that the 5 types of toxins were sucked away. The strange aura that fought against the toxins also followed, which meant that this thing was not clean either. That's good. I'll suck it out while I'm at it. Although the strange aura was drawn out, it was still stubbornly resisting. Ha! It was quite persistent. Bang! Suddenly, Shi Jingxian waved her jade-like hand and sent the flat vacuum cleaner flying. She stood up with a swoosh, and a strong wave of air erupted from her body, blowing her hair into a mess. On the left side of her face, complex lines flickered and extended to her left eye, gradually reflecting a strange pattern. Blood chakra. Jun Changshao frowned. Seeing the palace master suddenly stand up, Zhang Sun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue were overjoyed. However, seeing her long hair fluttering and a terrifying violent aura erupting from her body, they were shocked. The palace master is going berserk again. Shi Jingxian would fall into a berserk state when she was depressed. The two had seen it many times, but this time the aura was stronger and more terrifying than before. If the berserk state was divided into 1, 2, and 3 levels, this woman was now in a state of Level 10 berserk state. Palace Master Shi Jun Changshao had just opened his mouth when the blackened Shi Jingxian suddenly turned her head, her eyes filled with killing intent. She gently raised her jade-like hand, and a burst of energy of unknown attribute burst out. Boom! A gust of wind suddenly rose, and dust flew. Jun Changshao crossed his hands and received the energy. He was shocked. The power is a bit strong. Swoosh! Shi Jingxian rushed over, and the strange attribute behind her burst out as if it turned into a big net. If it were someone else, Jun Changshao would have punched them to the ground without saying a word, and then rubbed their head on the ground. But now it was his friend who rushed over. How could he do it? Swoosh! 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 The big net pressing down instantly turned into dense fist prints, launching a crazy explosion. Boom! 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 Jun Changshao opened the air wall and received all the fist prints. He secretly estimated. Her current strength is probably not inferior to a high-ranked Wu Huang. Palace Master Shi, calm down. Swoosh! The completely blackened Shi Jingxian raised her fist and punched. The crimson pattern in her left eye became brighter, and the power of the explosion was stronger than before. Jun Changshao dodged the bombardment and took a few steps back. He thought, Palace Master Shi's berserk should be related to the attribute of her body and the blood spiral eye. That's right. The system said, I've analyzed it. This is an energy that can control the mind. It might be the soul race. Soul race? Jun Changshao's face suddenly turned ugly. He had wondered if any of the people he came in contact with had been occupied by the soul race. This conjecture originated from the fact that in melodramatic plots, the person closest to the protagonist could be controlled by the protagonist. Jun Changshao had thought of Xie Guanquan, Ma Yinteng, and even Brother Green Scarf, but he had never thought of Shi Jingxian. The vacuum cleaner just pulled out the strange energy. If the one occupying Palace Master Shi's body is the soul race, it should be effective against this creature. Whoosh! Shi Jingxian rushed over again. Although her strength had increased a lot in an instant, she still couldn't do anything to a peak emperor. Jun Changshao went around, raised his hand, and said in a deep voice, "Vacuum cleaner, come." Whoosh! The magically modified vacuum cleaner in the distance flew over and was carried on his back. He instantly turned into a cleaner doing housework. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao held the vacuum cleaner and said, "Sorry for the offense." Swoosh! He rushed over with his movement technique. His left hand suddenly burst with spiritual energy and turned into a solid hand that restrained the blackened Shi Jingxian. Then, under the force, he slammed her against the wall of the valley with a bang. System, it didn't matter if he used the strength to deal with a woman he didn't know like Miao Saifeng, but it was a bit too much to use so much strength on someone he knew. Jun Changshao couldn't be blamed. He had to use the most powerful method to control the blackened Shi Jingxian. Paw! He pressed the red button and activated the enhanced mode. Jun Changshao raised the vacuum cleaner and pressed it against the struggling Shi Jingxuan's arm. He shouted coldly, "Dirty thing, get out here." Chapter 835. If Imo Shang and Old Ding were present, they would definitely hug each other and cry. Why was it that after the vacuum cleaner was turned on, it automatically sucked on our heads and even sucked away our hair? Why was it that when it was Shi Jingxian, it sucked on her arm? This was because Jun Changshao had used a lot of effort to press the flat sucker down and aim it at the girl's hand instead of her head. If it were someone else, it would be up to fate. Whoosh! Whoosh! Under the enhancement mode, the suction force produced by the vacuum cleaner was quite explosive. The violent aura around Shi Jingxian couldn't resist at all and was sucked away in the blink of an eye. Jun Changshao didn't let down his guard. Because the released attributes were taken away, the attributes in her body were still there. He didn't care if this was caused by the soul race or if it could help Shi Jingxian increase her strength. As long as it controlled her mind and made her lose her mind, he had to destroy it. Whoosh! Whoosh! More and more energy was sucked away. Shi Jingxian, who was pressed against the wall by the psionic hand, had long hair scattered and her cold eyes gradually became clear. In particular, the left eye pattern and the lines on the side of her face dimmed as if they would disappear at any time. This, Zhang Sun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue were stunned. The words of the former palace lord before he left rang in their ears. Only when the pattern on this girl's face completely disappears will she not fall into a berserk state. At this moment. Right now. Wasn't it disappearing? Zhang Sun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue were overjoyed. The palace lord didn't die in the poison abyss. If the strange disease was cured, it would definitely be a blessing in disguise. At that moment, the two elders of Miaohua Palace had a better impression of Jun Changshao. Whoosh! Whoosh! The powerful suction force was still erupting. The domineering attribute that controlled Shi Jingxuan's mind was still being sucked out and finally stored in the vacuum cleaner. Although she tried to resist, she couldn't rush out at all. A minute later, the pattern in Shi Jingxuan's left eye faded and the pattern on her face disappeared. Her head fell to the side and she fell unconscious. Paw! Jun Changshao turned off the vacuum cleaner and wiped the sweat on his forehead. He heaved a long sigh of relief and said, "It's finally done. She's finally safe." Plop! Because of the disappearance of the psionic hand, Shi Jingxian lost her balance and fell. Jun Changshao, Zhang Sun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue, the system broke down and said, "Is wiping sweat more important, or is a girl more important?" He doesn't know at all. Squat down. On the martial arts practice field, the poisonous clouds had already been sucked clean by the vacuum cleaner. Jiang Ye was berating with his hands behind his back. At this moment, the elders and disciples of the Nine Venoms Temple were all squatting on the ground. This sect was very good at using poison, but once it lost its effectiveness, they could just send any outer sect disciple from the sect of all times to defeat 100 of them. It's over, it's over. One of the elders broke down in his heart. She didn't approve of the palace master helping Tan Huiying deal with the palace master of Miaohua Palace. After all, Miaohua Palace was a fourth-rate sect. But she never thought that the sect of all times would be involved. According to the information they received, this newly risen sect had destroyed many heretical sects, and 2 third-rate heretical sects had been defeated as well. Now that they were under their control, they would definitely be wiped out. Huff huff, suddenly, a wave of heavy pressure came over. Everyone turned to look, and their eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. In the main hall, 2 creatures that looked like dragons and elephants suddenly appeared, erupting with a pressure that seemed to come from ancient times. Damn! Jiang Ye exclaimed, "What's going on?" Rumble, the power of the dragon and elephant pressed down mercilessly. The Nine Venoms Temple that had existed for hundreds of years instantly ceased to exist, and a crater that was dozens of feet deep was formed. The dust gradually dissipated. Jun Changshao walked over with Shi Jingxian in his arms. Dragon and elephant Prajnapalm, using it to destroy buildings is degrading me. Although Tan Huiying died tragically in the poison abyss, Shi Jingxian almost died, so there was no need for the Nine Venoms Temple to exist. In fact, just trapping Elder Wei and Jiang Ye was enough reason for Jun Changshao to destroy them. Behind him, Zhang Sun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue's eyes were filled with shock. They saw with their own eyes that the man condensed a terrifying power with a casual wave of his hand. They couldn't deny it. Every time the two of them met Jun Changshao, the strength they displayed was stronger than before. Jiang Ye looked at the faces of the 2 elders of Ingenious Flower Palace. Because of the thin red marks on their faces that were identical to Elder Wei's, they should have been sucked by a vacuum. "Brother, you have it on your face too." Patriarch Jiang Ye asked, "What should we do with the upper echelons and disciples?" cripple their spirit cores and meridians. Although June Patriarch liked to annihilate sects at will, he only targeted the culprits. For disciples like this, he would cripple them if he could and not kill them cruelly. Although this was the other world, it was necessary to promote positive energy. Alright. Jiang Ye made his move. This guy had done things in the heretical sects and was not careless in crippling their martial arts and spirit cores. In just a moment, the upper echelons and disciples of Nine Venoms Temple lay weakly on the ground. The higher level ones had their spirit cores crippled while the lower level ones had their meridians crippled. If they wanted to cultivate martial arts again in this life, unless they encountered heaven-defying treasures, there was no hope for them. It's gone, my cultivation is gone. The disciples of Nine Venoms Temple lay on the ground helplessly. Although they mainly cultivated the way of poison, many of their poison techniques relied on martial arts. Now that their martial arts had been crippled, it was equivalent to crippling 80% of their poison techniques. Patriarch Jiang Ye said, "What should we do with this woman?" Jun Changshao first looked at the unconscious Miao Saifeng, then looked at the dazed Elder Wei, shook his head and said, "Bring her back to the sect of all times." When he entered Nine Venoms Temple, he heard the conversation between the two. He knew that the palace master of Nine Venoms Temple was the daughter of Elder Wei's ex-girlfriend, so he did not go too far. He could avoid the death penalty, but he could not escape punishment. From now on, he would spend the rest of his life in the Sect of All Times dungeon. If Zhao Daode knew, he would definitely be overjoyed. After changing his cellmates again and again, it was finally no longer the terrifying Demon King, half-saint, or Wu Sheng, but a beautiful woman. Patriarch Elder Wei stood up with difficulty and said, "Thank you." He knew that the reason the Patriarch did not kill Miao Saifeng was because of him. Whoosh whoosh. Outside the forest of 1,000 poisons, Jun Changshao and the others walked out. Not long after they left, scorching flames spread out and burned this area full of poisonous creatures to ashes. At this point, Nine Venoms Temple no longer existed. Those disciples who were not killed, even if they wanted to rebuild the sect in the future, but even the forest of 1,000 poisons was burned to ashes. Without the ideal poison zone, they were destined to lose all hope. Cough, cough. On the way, Shi Jingxian, who was carried by Jun Changshao, moved her eyelashes slightly and slowly opened her eyes. Her head seemed to explode, and her memory was very chaotic. After sorting it out, she remembered that she was thrown into the poison abyss by Tan Huiying. Wait! Shi Jingxuan's delicate body suddenly shook. Suddenly, spots of light appeared in her originally dark vision, and then turned into a line that slowly expanded until her vision was completely occupied by the shining light. Because she was not used to it, she subconsciously closed her eyes again. Palace Master Shi. A voice sounded by her ear. Are you okay? Chapter 836. Hearing the voice beside her, Shi Jingxian immediately realized that it was Jun Patriarch. Why was he here? Wasn't she in the poison abyss? Was she not doomed? The face that seemed to exist in her mind and could never be erased appeared. Although it was different from what Shi Jingxian had imagined, she slowly got used to it after recalling it many times. If Jun Patriarch knew what Shi Jingxian was thinking, he would definitely squat in a corner and bury his head between his legs. I'm a handsome guy that can only be compared to a cross-dressing girl, but she's slowly getting used to it. After getting used to the light, Shi Jingxian opened her eyes again. Although her vision was still blurry, she could vaguely see the outline of a face that merged with her memory. She was sure that it was Jun Changshao. Shi Jingxian subconsciously raised her hand and touched the blurry face in her vision. Feeling the warmth in her palm, she said with a trembling voice, I saw it. I saw it. Saw it? Jun Changshao's expression froze. Suddenly, he noticed that Shi Jingxuan's originally empty eyes were gradually filled with color and some kind of emotion. Thus, he said in surprise, Palace Master Shi, your eyesight has recovered. What? Zhang Sun Fenghua and Ling Xingyue were stunned. I saw it. I really saw it. Shi Jingxian was still shouting. Perhaps she was too happy, her eyes gradually became wet and tears flowed down her cheeks. After 20 years of darkness, she could finally see the light again. Although the image was blurry and similar to severe myopia, at least it was not as scary. How could she not be overjoyed? How could she not cry tears of joy? What's this? Apple? What's this? Orange? On the giant rock, Jun Changshao sat cross-legged and took a fruit from the side. He asked, "What about this?" Shi Jingxian squinted and leaned over. After taking a closer look, she smiled and said, "It's still an apple." Crunch. Jun Changshao took a bite and smiled as he chewed. Sure enough, under my treatment, Palace Master Shi can finally see the light again. System, what the fuck are you treating? Why was Shi Jingxian able to see the light again? This was a question. At first, Jun Changshao guessed that he might have cured the eye disease by fighting poison with poison, but he also wondered if he had absorbed the strange aura, and not only had the person returned to normal, but his eyes had also recovered. Tears streamed down Zhangsun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue's faces. Not only was the mark on the palace master's face removed, but his eye disease was also cured. This was definitely a blessing in disguise. Of course. At this moment, they also believed that Jun Changshao must be the reason why their palace master was able to escape from danger and see the light again. Therefore, they were extremely grateful in their hearts. However, although I can see, my eyesight is still a problem. It was more than just a little. It was simply severe myopia. Even if something was placed in front of his eyes, he could only see it vaguely. Jun Patriarch. Shi Jingxian smiled brightly. I'm very satisfied. For more than 20 years, she had only seen darkness whenever she opened or closed her eyes. No one could understand that kind of loneliness and fear. Now that she could see the light again, even if her vision was blurry, she was satisfied. Especially now that she could see the man's face clearly, she didn't have to rely on her memory anymore. Actually, it's not a big problem. Jun Changshao threw away the unfinished apple and said, "As long as you get a pair of glasses, the problem will be solved." Glasses? Zhangsun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue looked at each other. There were definitely no short-sighted glasses in the Falling Star continent, but there were some in the store because he had bought dazzling sunglasses before. Jun Changshao was not in a hurry to travel. Instead, he rested where he was and opened the beginner's store. Since Palace Master Shi's eye disease had recovered, he would be a good person to the end and help her get a pair of glasses so that she could see the world better. The system said, "There is love." Shi Jingxian sat on the grass and happily played with the flowers beside her. She murmured, "It turns out that this world is so colorful. It turns out that flowers look like this instead of being square." She, who had been blind since she was young, could only understand the world from the mouths of others and then rely on her own imagination. However, the things she imagined might not correspond to the reality. For example, Jun Changshao. Under Shi Jingxuan's rich imagination, the head was very flat, the nose was very long, and the eyes were very long. When she saw that the human appearance was different from her imagination, she was immediately depressed. She could not blame Go Sheng for not being handsome enough and not being popular enough for thousands of girls. Shi Jingxuan's eye disease was the problem. She was destined to see the world and things differently from normal people. When she gradually adapted to this world, distinguished what kind of people should be, and established her aesthetic standards, then looked at Jun Patriarch, Anyway, she was used to vomiting and vomiting. It didn't matter anymore. Ding! Ding! Jun Changshao was still refreshing the beginner's store. His contribution points decreased by 10. He, who had tens of thousands of points, did not feel the pinch at all. Finally, after spending thousands of contribution points, a pair of God-modified multifunctional glasses appeared. The introduction said, "No matter how much myopia is, wearing it will allow the patient to have normal vision. The special effect can be activated once a day to massage the eyes. In the long run, the patient will completely get rid of myopia and regain normal vision. Author G. I want T_T, this is it. Jun Changshao spent 50 contribution points to buy this retro, round-framed multifunctional glasses, so he murmured, it's quite suitable for a little girl to wear. In his previous world, glasses were sometimes more like ornaments. Different types of girls would appear more elegant and charming if they wore different styles. For example, a woman in the workplace would look very capable with black-rimmed glasses, while a girl next door would look very cute with round-rimmed glasses. Shi Jingxian belonged to the latter, the kind of weak girl next door. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao walked over and said, try it on. How? Forget it, I'll help you. Jun Changshao gently put on the glasses for Shi Jingxian, and the latter's vision suddenly became incomparably clear. She stood rooted to the ground like a wooden chicken. Just blurred vision was enough to satisfy her. Now that the scene became incomparably clear, the excitement was even more self-evident. So clear. I can see very far. At that moment, Shi Jingxian stood up happily like a child. She looked at the green mountains and clear waters in the distance, and looked at the endless sky. She looked even more adorable with her large round glasses. My name is Jun Changshao. I never would have thought that I would use such a method to let a girl with an eye disease see the light again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden quest, taking pleasure in helping others. Ding! Contribution points, 5433350000. Ding! Overflow of contribution points, ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden quest and triggering the hidden reward. You have obtained high-grade formation aptitude liquid X1, and you have obtained the right to purchase the plain battlefield teleportation gate X1. Jun Changshao was stunned. Shi Jingxian put on her glasses and saw everything clearly. She had actually completed a hidden quest. This was completely unexpected. The next second, Goshen grinned. Although it took some time to help the girl and consumed some contribution points, the reward of 10,000 contribution points was still very profitable. Moreover, high-grade formation aptitude liquid was a good thing. After consuming it, his understanding of array formations would definitely rise to another level. What does the plain battlefield secret teleportation gate mean? Jun Changshao opened the shopping list and clicked on the item that appeared. The introduction displayed was Chapter 837. Helping Shi Jingxian regain her sight and see the colorful world was a matter of helping others, so Jun Changshao completed the hidden mission. Actually, he had never flaunted himself as a good person, but he had definitely done good things. Why did he have to complete it now? The system explained, some hidden missions weren't there from the beginning, but were added after the system continuously upgraded itself. As if I'll believe you. Jun Changshao muttered and then clicked on the item description. The system broke down. Shouldn't you be concerned about the girl who just regained her sight? Item, Dimensional Battlefield Teleportation Gate Description. The living beings of various dimensions are constantly multiplying, overcrowded and unable to bear the burden, so they opened up the dimensional battlefield, allowing cultivators of various dimensions to enter and fight, thus relieving the pressure of survival. Effect, this item can lead to the battlefield outside the region to fight with various races. It is the best place to gain experience. Advantage, hidden cave abode in the battlefield, martial arts secret manuals and resources. Disadvantage, life and death are determined by fate, riches and honor are determined by the heavens. Price, 50,000 contribution points. Countdown, 59 minutes 10 seconds. After seeing the price, Jun Changshao's eyes widened. 50,000 contribution points? This is too expensive. His current limit was only 50,000, buying this item was equivalent to directly emptying his contribution points. What's the meaning of the countdown? This item is a limited time item, the host must purchase it within the specified time, otherwise it will be permanently erased from the purchased items list, unable to be refreshed from the store in the future. There's such a thing. Jun Changshao was stunned. The system said, There's a reason why it's expensive, recommending the host to buy 5. Before it finished, Jun Changshao forcefully interrupted, I won't buy it even if the recommendation is 500,000 stars, 50,000 contribution points was simply too much. Moreover, the dimensional battlefield was for killing, although there were various resources inside, life and death were determined by fate, riches and honor were determined by the heavens. From this, it could be seen. The so-called dimensional battlefield was definitely dangerous, it was definitely not a child's play. Moreover, as long as he made the sect strong, he would be able to complete the main mission and live a carefree life with his disciples. What was the use of going to the dimensional battlefield? Every item in the store is useful, such as hair gel, face masks, vacuum cleaners. This item is a limited time item, it's definitely more useful, the host will definitely not lose out or be fooled by buying it. Furthermore, I'm still keeping the contribution points that I got from my disciples' entry into the life and death secret realm. Even if I clear them all, I still have a lot more. The system was a qualified salesman. However, Jun Changshao was not tempted. He was sticking to his principles. There was no other way. The system had an idea and said, since the extraterritorial battlefields are used by all the planes to kill each other, there must be a way back. If you buy it, wouldn't you be able to use the battlefield as a transit point to rob other planes? That makes sense. Jun Changshao's eyes lit up. The system continued, the Soul Race's continent is also a plane. If the host breaks the seal and goes in, the other side might invade first. Using the teleportation gate to go to their world is both safe and convenient. After following Jun Patriarch for a long time, its imagination had improved a lot. Don't say it. After saying that, Jun Gosheng felt a rush of excitement. Thus, he rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, why don't I just buy it? He had no interest in going to the battlefield to kill. If he could really use it to go to other planes, it would definitely be worth buying. The main mission was to make the sect the strongest. The key to becoming stronger was resources. If the falling star continent could not satisfy him, he could go to other places, such as the Soul Race's territory. It was the fastest way to improve. Buy. The system urged, opportunity knocks but once. If there was no time limit, Jun Changshao might need to consider for a long time. However, seeing the time limit, he finally made up his mind and said, I'll trust you one more time. Ding! The host has spent 50,000 contribution points. Obtained the plane battlefield teleportation gate X1. It has been sent to the spatial ring. Ding! Contribution points, 433350000. In the past, Jun Patriarch would feel the pinch when he spent thousands or even tens of thousands of contribution points. Now, seeing the 50,000 contribution points suddenly turn into a few thousand, he clutched his chest and said, it hurts, Li Fei. The plane battlefield teleportation gate was similar to the life and death secret realm. It was in the shape of a whirlpool. Because he was in the wilderness, he did not take it out for a closer look. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao said, let's hurry. Shi Jingxian, who had completely recovered her vision after putting on her glasses, was very happy. Walking on the road, she was like a child walking out of the mountains, looking at the unfamiliar world with all kinds of curious attitudes. Of course. She also met many martial artists. After gradually establishing her aesthetic standards, she would occasionally sneak a glance at Jun Changshao and think to herself, he's more pleasing to the eye than the others. It was definitely because she had seen too much. It was not the kind of first-time meeting and being shocked by a celestial being. At this time, as an expert in the field of love, he would definitely find an opportunity to talk to her and crazily increase her favorability in front of her. However, Jun Patriarch's spiritual senses entered the spatial ring and the vacuum cleaner, spying on the strange restless attribute inside. This unclean thing should be the culprit that caused Palace Master Shi to go berserk and even cause blindness, right? At first, the system said that it was the Soul Race. When it was absorbed into the vacuum cleaner, Jun Changshao denied it. This was because the Array Emperor said that the energy released by the soul race was green. This was obviously not. Moreover, although the evil Shi Jingxuan's strength had increased greatly, she did not absorb the energy of others, so it was also one of the reasons why it was not the soul race. Sigh. June Patriarch rubbed his temples and said self-deprecatingly, the soul race was able to trigger the war of the emperors in the ancient era, which means that they are good at hiding. How can I find them so easily? The system said, for now, it's better to focus on those withered flowers and plants. As long as we find out who did it, we might be able to find the soul race. Yes. Jun Changshao thought so too. The withered area in eastern Haozhou where the energy was absorbed was the only clue left. As for whether he could find the answer he wanted, he had no idea. Jun Patriarch. After walking for a while and confirming that the palace master's eyes had completely recovered, Zhang Sun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue took advantage of the rest to kneel down and bow, thank you so much. In the past, they hated Jun Changshao. After the incident at Nine Poisons Palace, especially when they saw him resolutely jump into the poison abyss to save the palace master, their attitude changed drastically. They even regretted mocking and ridiculing him back then. If Jun Patriarch pressed Shi Jingxian against the wall, then hooked her chin with his finger and domineeringly said, "Be my woman," the two elders would definitely not object. This was because he was willing to sacrifice himself to save her in a time of danger. Such a man was worth entrusting their lives to. However, it was just an if. In reality, Jun Patriarch waved his hand, and a thick spiritual energy erupted, stopping the two of them from kneeling down. He said, Palace Master Shi and I are friends. When a friend is in trouble, it's natural for me to save her. There's no need to thank me. Chapter 838. Although Shi Jingxian had regained her sight, to further prove that she would not go berserk, Jun Changshao kept telling her some tragic stories along the way. Every time she finished listening, Palace Master Shi would frown and show a depressed expression, but she remained normal and did not go berserk. At this point, Jun Changshao temporarily concluded that the energy that was sucked away was the culprit that caused her split personality. Thus, he decided, it's impossible to release it, let's just keep it locked up for now. The vacuum cleaner's internal walls were very strong. Unclean things could not rush out, so it was still capable of keeping it locked up for a long time. Jun Changshao was even considering whether or not he should prepare more. Jun Patriarch. Shi Jingxian said, is there another story? Yes. Jun Changshao sat down cross-legged, took a bite of an apple, and said, yesterday I told you about Romeo and Juliet, today I'll tell you about Liang Shanbua and Zhu Yingtai. System, okay. Shi Jingxian opened her eyes wide, her face full of anticipation. The story is like this, later, Liang Shanbua died, and Zhu Yingtai knelt in front of his grave crying. Suddenly, he saw Liang Shanbua's figure, so the two of them turned into butterflies and flew away. After listening, Shi Jingxian was already in tears. She took off her glasses, wiped her tears, and said with a choked voice, why can't lovers be together in the end? Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, what is love in this world? It teaches people to live and die together. Palace Master Shi. After a pause, he said, tomorrow I'll tell you the story of the cowherd and the weaver girl. The system couldn't help but complain, I think that at this time, the host should sing happy breakup, kind breakup is no big deal, autumn is the season for breakups, these kinds of songs are the best. Scram. I don't know how to sing. On the road. Whenever they saw a beautiful place, Jun Changshao would deliberately stop to let Shi Jingxian enjoy it. The others tactfully left, giving the two of them a chance to be alone. So this is a waterfall. Shi Jingxian looked at the water that was like the Milky Way falling from the ninth heaven, and her smile became even brighter. In just a few days, she had already adapted to the colorful world, and her mood better. Of course. Shi Jingxian also knew that she was able to see the light of day again because of Jun Changshao, so every time she looked at him, her cheeks would unconsciously turn red. Jun Changshao didn't think much of it. Whenever he had time, he would study the strange energy inside the vacuum cleaner. It could instantly increase a person's strength by several times or even more. If he could study it thoroughly without losing his rationality, it would be perfect. It was a pity that he didn't gain anything from his research. The next day, they reached a fork in the road. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao stopped and cupped his hands. Let's part here. Be careful on the road. Yes. Shi Jingxian nodded, but when she was about to leave, she turned around and said, Thank you, Jun Patriarch, for your help. I will always remember this kindness. Jun Changshao said, We're friends. Since we're friends, why can't we become allies? Shi Jingxian said with a smile. She had mentioned this idea when the Blue Mountain Sect and the Sect of All Times formed an alliance, but it was later rejected by the elders, who thought that Jun Changshao was too troublesome. But now, Sun Fanghua and Ling Xingyue were very supportive. Jun Patriarch said, Sure. It was normal for a sect to have many allies, so he naturally wouldn't mind. When we return, I will announce it to the public, Shi Jingxian said. Yes. Just like that. The serious matter of forming an alliance was not completed on the solemn negotiation table. Instead, it was settled in the wilderness by the two sect leaders. The efficiency could be said to be shockingly high. Goodbye. Goodbye. Shi Jingxian reluctantly led the two elders back to Miaohua Palace, while Jun Changshao led everyone back to the Sect of All Times. Elder Wei. On the way, Jiang Ye whispered, Elder Ling left. Why didn't you say anything? Sigh. Elder Wei sighed. After returning from the forest of 1,000 poisons, he had been silent. Obviously, he couldn't accept the death of the girl he once loved. Looking at the slightly haggard Elder Wei, Jun Changshao said to himself, so it's better to focus on developing the sect, so as to avoid being troubled and hurt by love in the future. The system complained, you say it as if you can find a woman. Sect of All Times. After Jun Changshao returned, he tied up Miao Saifeng and locked her in prison. Zhao Daodu was overjoyed. He didn't expect his new cellmate to be such an outstanding beauty. However, he cried that night. Because although this woman was tied up and her meridians were sealed, many terrifying spiders, centipedes, and other poisonous creatures appeared out of nowhere in the prison. He grabbed onto the iron fan window and howled miserably, Sect leader Jun, change my cell, Patriarch. Jiang Ye asked, is that woman still locked up? Yes. Jun Changshao said, lock her up first. Ding Xingwang suggested, the art of poison can be comprehended to the extreme. It's hard to guard against. Patriarch can subdue her for his own use. Yes. The Ning brothers agreed. Jun Changshao also had this intention when he brought Miao Saifeng back. But he knew that being tied up by him could lead to her death at any time. Miao Saifeng didn't compromise, which meant that she was a woman with character. It wouldn't be easy to make her submit. Since that was the case, then lock her up first. In order to prevent the number one prisoner from dying, Jun Changshao brought Miao Saifeng out and locked her in a cell alone. Zhao Daoda let out a long sigh of relief. He clutched his chest and said, I'd rather be with the Demon King than with a venomous woman. A few days later, Miaohua Palace announced to the public that they had formed an alliance with the Sect of All Times. If it were in the past, people would definitely think that Jun Changshao was riding on the coattails of a fourth-rate sect. But now, they felt that it was an honor to form an alliance with the Sect of All Times. The alliance didn't cause much of a stir because many big shots speculated that the Sect of All Times Patriarch and the Palace Master of Miaohua Palace had an unspeakable relationship. Now that they had formed an alliance, it was as good as confirmed. Don't mess with Miaohua Palace in the future. Listen up. If you meet any disciples of Miaohua Palace when you go down the mountain, be careful. Don't mess with them. Many higher-ups of fourth-rate and fifth-rate sects were warning their disciples. Clearly, the prestige of the Sect of All Times had made many forces wary. How's the setup of the intelligence network? On this day, Jun Changshao came to the Drizzle Hall to ask about the situation. Li Luoqiu took out a map of the falling star continent and pointed at a few prefectures. At least 5 prefectures have been deployed. The southeastern prefectures are still expanding and will cover the entire region in about a month. Good progress. The Patriarch is still the one with the money. It was definitely unrealistic to rely on disciples to act as intelligence agents. Many intelligence agents were recruited by rogue cultivators. To put it simply, the Drizzle Hall's intelligence network covered a few major prefectures. Disciples were the minority. Most of the information was gathered by rogue cultivators and they were paid accordingly. Those who performed well during this period would be recommended by the branch master to become a member of the Sect of All Times. The Sect of All Times currently had 2 ways to recruit disciples. The first was through the Mountain Gate examination to obtain excellent youths. The second was through the branch master to send them over. A virtuous cycle of recruitment had been formed and was in full operation. Therefore, Jun Patriarch didn't need to think about how to recruit disciples. Li Qingyang was fully in charge of alchemy resources. He would refine whatever was lacking. It was definitely very stable. Comfortable. Lying on the chair in the study, Jun Changshao closed his eyes and took a nap. Although there were still many things that couldn't be done without him, the sect was gradually formalizing and operating in a virtuous manner. There were fewer and fewer things to worry about. A hands-off boss. Really, the day was just around the corner. Oh, right. Jun Changshao opened his eyes and said, "Set up the dimensional battlefield teleportation gate first." Chapter 839. Jun Changshao came to the back mountain and set up the portal. Now, there was another vortex-shaped entrance, forming a triangle with the life and death secret realm and the space and time secret realm. The back mountain had all kinds of facilities. There was a spirit gathering array that could absorb spiritual energy faster, an experience tower with comprehensive development of morality, intelligence, physique, and beauty, as well as a life and death secret realm. Now, there was a portal. Patriarch. Li Qingyang walked over and asked, "What is this?" He had just returned from the experience tower, and there were still beads of sweat on his forehead. Jun Changshao thought about it and said, "Let's call it a battlefield secret realm. It can improve martial arts." Li Qingyang's eyes lit up. As long as a new secret realm appeared, it would definitely be of great help to cultivation. It's used for training, and you can get a lot of resources. Can I go in? No. Jun Changshao refused. The battlefield secret realm was different from the life and death secret realm. You could revive after death, so it had to be personally inspected and confirmed the danger level inside. Okay. Li Qingyang said, "I'll go and do my work." Go. After he left, Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "Should I go in and take a look?" The system said, "Since I bought it, I must go and take a look." There are many experts in the battlefield secret realm. What if I can't win? Although Jun Changshao liked to seek death in fancy ways, everything was built on the condition that he had a trump card. However, he had no idea what kind of place the battlefield secret realm was, so he had no idea. Hesitation is not in the host's character. The system said, "Besides, with all kinds of equipment and unsheathed blades, what is there to be afraid of? You want me to be defeated in the battlefield secret realm. This will stimulate consumption. You know me well, host." Damn. Jun Changshao broke down. When did you become so shameless? I learned it from the host. After giving it some serious thought, Jun Changshao decided to walk towards the teleportation gate. He had obtained a full set of equipment from the Fatality Tower, and his strength was at the pinnacle of the Sword and Warrior Emperors. He also had irretrievable blade and mechanical armament wings, so he was not afraid of any trouble. Most importantly, he was eager to know whether the item he bought with 50,000 contribution points was a loss or a profit. As soon as he entered the vortex of flowing light, a voice sounded in his ears, detected that the intruder has reached the level of an emperor. You have fulfilled the minimum requirement to enter the teleportation device. Loading 10%. Loading 20%, damn. There was a cultivation level restriction for entering the planar battlefield. The lowest cultivation level was the Emperor realm. This meant that the experts on the battlefield were all Emperor level experts. In fact, they might even be higher than that. 30% increase, no way. I'll go in after I complete the epic quest and break through to the half-saint realm. Jun Goxing felt weak. Load 100%, teleport. Just as he was about to exit, he disappeared into thin air with a whoosh, and a roar could be heard. Jumping from 30% to 100%, are you kidding me? Zhongzuan state. Inside the ancient altar. Several white-robed old men sat cross-legged in front of the Earth Spirit instrument. Suddenly, the Earth Spirit instrument trembled slightly, and a voice sounded. The upper realm has decided that the falling star continent must send martial artists to the planar battlefield in 5 years. What? The leading old man suddenly opened his eyes and said in shock, Sir, the upper realm has decided. You only need to obey. Yes. Whoosh, the Earth Spirit instrument stopped vibrating, and everything returned to normal. However, the 5 white-robed old men frowned, and their eyes were filled with sorrow. The leader said in pain, in the end, we still can't avoid it. Our falling star continent is just the most inconspicuous plane in the universe. Why is it chosen to participate in the planar battlefield? If it was the ancient times, we might have the ability to participate in the war. However, now that the spirit chi has withered, our strength is much weaker than before. Sending powerhouses in is undoubtedly equivalent to sending them to their deaths. The white-robed old men were very unhappy, but they could only complain because they could only obey the upper realm's orders. The leading old man shook his head and said, Inform the continent of this matter and let the emperor-level powerhouses actively prepare for war in the next 5 years. Yes. After everyone left, the leader sighed with his hands clasped behind his back. The minimum requirement to enter the dimensional battlefield is to send 2,000 martial emperors. Although we have them in the falling star continent, if all of them die there, we will pay a heavy price. Our overall strength will only decline. The martial artists on the continent did not know about the planar battlefield, but the leaders of the relevant departments knew better than anyone else. Although there were all kinds of resources and opportunities there, it was also hell. Sigh. He sighed and said, we can only resign ourselves to fate. Jun Changshao felt dizzy, but when he gradually recovered, he found that he was standing on a crimson land. He looked up at the starry sky and said, is this the planar battlefield? At that moment, he felt as if he was in outer space, and he could see the stars and nebulae in the distance. Huff huff, suddenly, a murderous aura spread, and Jun Changshao could not help but shiver. He had felt this aura before. However, he had never seen such a strong one. Therefore, he instantly determined that many people must have died in the area he was in. Otherwise, it would be impossible for such a terrifying aura to form. Congratulations to the planar battlefield. Because the falling star continent has never participated in the planar battlefield, you are now in the circle of the falling star continent's territory. A feminine voice sounded in his ear. Damn! Jun Changshao said, it's changed. The system said, the voice is not from the system of the strongest sect. It is from the teleportation gate of the planar battlefield. I see. Jun Chang smiled and said, it's pretty high-tech. Circle? Territory? He hurriedly looked down and found himself in a circle with a radius of about 2 to 3 meters. There was a teleportation gate next to him, and there was a flag with the words, Falling Star Continent written on it. No way. Jun Patriarch broke down and said, this territory is too small. The feminine voice sounded, this is the first time the plane you represent is entering the planar battlefield. It is normal for the territory to be small. If you want to expand it, you will have to fight inside. For every victory or kill of an enemy, the territory will expand by 1 meter. 1 meter, Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. How many people do I have to defeat to reach the size of a village or a town? The sweet feminine voice sounded in his ear. The value of a territory is that the powerhouses of other planes cannot attack and occupy it. Therefore, dear participant, if you want to provide a safer and larger territory for the falling star continent martial artists who enter in the future, please fight to your heart's content. Wax. What the hell? Jun Changxiao stepped out of the safe zone. A voice sounded in his ear. Participant will lose all protection after leaving the territory. Please be careful. Do not die. Jun Changxiao swore. If this feminine system had a physical body, no matter how beautiful it was, it would definitely punch it. Chapter 840. There were many planes in the dimensional battlefield, and each plane had its own independent territory. If one wanted to expand, they had to keep killing. Jun Changxiao, who came here through the portal, successfully activated the falling star continent's territory, but it was only a few meters away. In fact, it was related to the number of people. If more people came in, the initial territory would be larger. Sigh. Jun Changxiao said, since I'm here, I'll take it easy. He didn't come here to fight, and he didn't care about the territory. It was enough as long as he could smoothly go to other planes. No. Suddenly, Jun Changxiao thought of something and broke down. No one can enter the falling star continent's territory, and no one can enter the other planes' territories. How can I go to their world? From the battlefield settings, every plane's territory was a safe zone. There was no hope of sneaking into other people's territories or worlds. System, get out here. There was no reply. Obviously, it had entered a state of feigning death. Fuck. Jun Changxiao hugged his head and broke down. I feel like I've lost a lot. Suddenly, a deep voice came from the sky. A martial artist from the falling star continent has entered the dimensional battlefield and is one of the participants. This announcement is hereby made. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. Saying it so loudly, was it afraid that others wouldn't know that someone from the falling star continent had come? Huff huff. At this moment, powerful auras erupted. In the starry sky in the distance, thousands of streams of light flew over at high speed. Among them were humans in strange clothes and half-naked orcs. Jun Changxiao's eyes widened because they were all Wu Huang's level. No! The dozens of martial artists flying at the front were undoubtedly half-saints judging from their strong auras. Jun Changxiao had already guessed that this place must be filled with experts when he heard that there was a cultivation level restriction. However, when he saw with his own eyes that there were as many emperors as dogs and half-saints running around the streets, he sucked in a breath of cold air and said, the plain battlefield is so terrifying. Wait. Jun Changxiao's expression suddenly became interesting. Because the thousands of experts were obviously coming for him. New martial artist from the falling star continent, die. This brat is mine, don't you dare snatch him from me. Anyone who kills a martial artist from the falling star continent will be rewarded with several times the merit points. Who's the coward? Who? Killing intent erupted, engulfing the earth. Even a Wuxing level expert like City Lord Han wouldn't be able to withstand such a formation. However, Jun Sheng was smarter. Seeing thousands of people coming at them aggressively, they hurriedly took a few steps back and shrank into a circle that was only a few meters wide. Swoosh! Whoosh! Many experts arrived in the blink of an eye. They hovered in mid-air and taunted, newcomer, hurry up and show yourself. Seeing that they did not dare to cross the circle, Jun Changxiao folded his arms and said indifferently, come in if you have the guts. Come out if you dare. Come in if you dare. You have guts. 10 minutes later, Jun Changxiao's mouth was parched and his voice was hoarse. If you have the guts to come in, if there were only a few or dozens of emperor-level experts, he would definitely dare to go out. However, there were thousands of people surrounding him, and he could only rely on the safety zone to argue with them. Gutless guy. A powerhouse said coldly, I won't waste my time with you. Let's go. Swoosh! Swoosh! The powerhouse representing him turned around and flew away. The powerhouses from other planes also left one after another. Soon, there were only 20 to 30 people left outside the safety zone of the falling star continent. Obviously, they didn't want to give up and planned to wait. Swoosh! Jun Changshao summoned a chair, sat on it, crossed his legs, and said, "I don't believe that I can't wear you guys out." The system said, "Don't be a coward, go. Go my ass." Jun Changshao said, "Do you think those people really left?" Dear participant, because you illegally sneaked into the plane battlefield and did not go through the normal procedures, although you have established the territory of the falling star continent, you will be expelled after 2 hours in the safety zone. Now, the countdown begins. Of course. The feminine voice continued, "Participant, if you stay outside for an hour, the countdown will start again when you enter the safety zone. I wish you good luck and a happy life." Mwax. Mwax your grandpa. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. Staying inside for 2 hours and wandering outside for an hour. This was forcing him to not stay in the safety zone. He had to either take the initiative to fight or be hunted down. Don't be a coward. The system said, "Screw them." Okay. Jun Changxiao stood up, shook his shoulders, and said, "When the time is almost up, I'll fight them to the death." The system collapsed. He still had to go out at the right time. When did the host become so cowardly? It wasn't cowardice. It was Rich Express, eating chicken. I say, everyone. Jun Changxiao sat steadily on the chair and said, "Which plane are you from?" Lingyun Continent. Scarlet Sea Continent. Shengxian Continent. The powerhouses who hadn't left all reported their origins. Their noses were almost pointing to the sky. Jun Changxiao said, "What did you mean by merit points?" Ha! The powerhouses from Lingyun Continent laughed coldly, and said, "Since you've come to the dimensional battlefield, how could you not know about merit points?" This, Jun Changxiao said, "I came in a bit of a hurry, so I don't know a lot of things." Everyone's mouths twitched. They had thought about it for a long time before finally deciding to come to the dimensional battlefield. There was no such thing as being in a hurry. Kid. A powerhouse from Scarlet Sea Continent said indifferently, "When your territory expands to a certain size, a merit store will be formed in the upper realm. At that time, you can buy natural treasures and weapons that are not available in this plane." Upper realm? Jun Changxiao was surprised. The feminine voice said, "Dear participant, this place was opened by a powerhouse from the upper realm. Every 5 years, there will be a plane leaving and a new plane joining." Damn. Jun Changxiao broke down, and said, "Building a battlefield that focuses on killing, the people of the upper realm are really bad." The feminine voice said, "The races of the major planes are multiplying too quickly. In the long run, the energy will be exhausted, so building a dimensional battlefield is also a last resort. The more people there were, the more resources would be consumed, and in the end, it would be exhausted." Jun Changxiao could understand this point. Using killing to reduce the population was a bit extreme. Or rather, the upper realm was just taking down the lower realm and treating them like ants. It didn't matter how many people died. I thought that the upper realm was an extraordinary holy land, but now it seems that it can't escape the law of the jungle. Jun Changxiao shook his head. Of course. The powerhouse from Scarlet Sea Continent smiled coldly, and said, "You won't have a chance to expand your territory, because as soon as you step out, you'll become our prey to obtain merit points." Prey? Jun Changxiao clasped his fingers together, leaned forward slightly, and rested his chin on it. He slowly narrowed his eyes, and a U-shaped smile appeared. Are you serious? Chapter 841. Treating him as prey. Jun Patriarch narrowed his eyes. The smile of a demon king that scared children to tears appeared on his face. Seeing his expression, the powerhouses of the other planes all said disdainfully, "This guy is asking for a beating." Yes. Jun Changshao was asking for a beating. However, no one on the falling star continent dared to beat him up. The powerhouses of the planar battlefield were different. No one took Jun Changshao seriously. Kid! The powerhouse from the Red Sea continent cupped his hands and said, "Don't hide in the safe zone. Come out and fight me for 300 rounds, 300 rounds." Jun Changshao leaned back in his chair and raised a finger. He said calmly, "1 round is enough to deal with trash like you." 1 round. The powerhouse from the Red Sea continent sneered, "This little falling star continent martial cultivator is quite arrogant." Calm down, calm down. Jun Changshao said, "You'll know soon enough." He had been waiting for the 2 hours to end. Once he left this time, he would have to wander outside for an hour. Every moment of safety counted. Actually, Jun Changshao could enter the teleportation gate and return to the sect of all times. However, since he was here, and there were so many powerhouses here, he naturally had to have a good fight. This guy was also a battle-hungry person. However, when he was managing the sect in the Falling Star continent, unless he encountered a troublesome enemy, the disciples would fight. Today, on the battlefield, he could finally fight to his heart's content. Kid! The powerhouse from the Red Sea continent shouted, "Hurry up and come out and finish me in 1 round." He was in a hurry. He wanted to take the first blood of the Falling Star continent martial cultivators and earn several times the merit points to exchange for the resources he needed at the merit store. Jun Changshao ignored him. He secretly observed the 20 martial cultivators outside the safe zone. 10 are comparable to rank 8 Wu Huang, 6 are comparable to rank 9 Wu Huang, 3 are comparable to peak Wu Huang, and 1 is comparable to a half-saint. Why did he use the word comparable? Because every plane had different cultivation systems and different realms. On the Falling Star continent, there were martial masters and Wu Huang. On other planes, there were Qi Si and Void transformation realms. The most valiant, yet also the simplest, was the division between level 1 to level 999. The clamoring Scarlet Sea continent's experts were represented by numbers, and they were experts over level 700. The realms of each plane were different, but they were more or less the same. It's only a half-saint. Jun Changshao thought to himself, it's not a big problem. Clang! The Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's Sword appeared and stabbed into the ground in front of the chair. I advise everyone to leave quickly, or else you will become a soul under this sword. He spread his legs and placed his hand on the hilt of his sword. At that moment, Jun Patriarch was like a king who was about to conquer the world. However, the powerhouses of the various existential planes did not care. They stared at the Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's Sword with shining eyes. Clearly, they had taken a liking to it and planned to take it for themselves. In the planar battlefield where life and death were decided by fate and riches and honor were decided by the heavens, there was only one rule. Either you die or I die. The dead martial artists' equipment and resources would naturally become the victors. Seeing that they were all looking at his swords, Jun Changshao knew that they would not leave. Fine. He shook his head and said, just wait for your death. TSK, everyone was disdainful. They were all veterans who had been in the planar battlefield for a long time, so they naturally wouldn't put this guy in their hearts. However, there was one thing that was very puzzling. It would take another 5 years for a new plane to enter the planar battlefield. Why did the Falling Star continent's martial artist come in early, and by himself? Sigh. The arrangements of the upper realm were unpredictable. At this moment, the upper realm was very helpless, because this guy was smuggled in and was not within the rules at all. Time passed by minute by minute. The 20 martial artists gathered outside the safe zone of the Falling Star continent had no intention of leaving. The system's feminine voice rang out, "Dear participant, you will be evicted in 1 minute. Please be prepared to be forcibly evicted. Love you." Jun Changshao had always felt that complaining about his system was very annoying, but compared to this feminine system, it was simply heaven and earth. There is no harm without comparison. The system said, "Now you know how good I am." Schwa. Jun Changshao stood up, a stream of light flashed behind him, and the mechanical wings appeared. He held the Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's sword with one hand and said sinisterly, "The slaughter begins." Whoosh whoosh. Flames erupted, and the momentum was like a rainbow. Eh. The Scarlet Sea Continent expert was surprised, it's even a fire element martial artist. Whoosh! At this moment, Jun Changshao burst out, and an incomparably cold sword light suddenly flashed in the monstrous flames. Not good. The Scarlet Sea Continent expert's eyes were filled with shock. He wanted to dodge, but just as the thought rose in his mind, he saw the sword light flash past his side, and his entire body was stunned in midair. Jun Changshao came in front of him and looked down like a king, a trash like you can be dealt with in half a move. Powerful, awesome. Poochie. Blood spurted from that person's neck, and his head flew off. From his wide-open eyes, it was obvious that he did not expect that he would be killed so easily by his prey. Plop! His body fell to the ground, sending up waves of dust. Congratulations to the participant for obtaining the first blood of the Scarlet Sea Continent, obtaining 100 merit points. A feminine prompt sounded in his ear. So this was the first blood? Jun Changshao's lips curled up slightly, and the Demon King's smile appeared again. Then, he looked at the martial artists from the other planes and said with a cold gaze, "All of you are my prey today." Everyone suddenly felt a chill in their hearts. A level 700 expert from the Scarlet Sea Continent was killed by him in one move. This guy was quite strong. Everyone! An expert shouted coldly, "Everyone, attack together!" Whoosh whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! More than 10 experts from different planes condensed different kinds of energy and charged over. In an instant, this area emitted an even stronger murderous aura, and the scarlet ground became even more enchanting. Die! Jun Changshao's black hair danced wildly, and his long and narrow eyes were filled with killing intent. Holding Jade Dragon asks the heavens, he charged over fearlessly. Whoosh whoosh! Flames erupted, and sword aura rampaged. At this time, if gang leader Chao's background music was borrowed, it would definitely ignite adrenaline instantly. Swish! Poochie, the expert from the Lingyun continent, didn't dodge at all and was mercilessly beheaded. Even his companion next to him was killed. Congratulations to the participant for taking down the first blood of the Lingyun continent. 100 merit points awarded. Congratulations to the participant for 10 merit points. It wasn't hard to tell from the notification that the first person to kill a plane would be rewarded 100 points, and the second person would only be rewarded 10 points. Black sky, scorching sun. Tornado clouds. Whoosh whoosh. On the other side, several experts from different planes displayed their own martial arts techniques, and dazzling energies wantonly appeared. This was a plain battlefield. Even if the power was extremely strong, it only caused the momentum and didn't shake the space. Otherwise, it would have been torn apart by the shockwaves. Boom! Boom! Dozens of different powers bombarded, creating a huge explosion. However, in the area filled with power, Jun Changshao rushed out wearing the 9 phosphor body armor, shocking everyone. This guy's defensive equipment was so strong. Everyone attacked together, but it didn't hurt him at all. Swish! Jun Changshao flew over, and with a wave of his wrist, he immediately used the Ling Jian divine art. Sword light burst out like a storm of pear blossoms. Not good. Dodge quickly. The experts from different planes were aghast. Unfortunately, under the extreme speed of the sword, the targeted expert didn't even have the chance to turn around before he was torn into pieces in an instant. Swish! Swish! Sword light filled the sky, illuminating the entire Crimson Land. Whoosh whoosh, Poochie! Poochie! In a short few minutes, Jun Changshao held the blood-stained Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's sword in the air, like an undefeatable god of war from the legends. On the Crimson Land, 19 corpses and limbs were scattered all around, and not a single one was left alive. Chapter 842. In the cruel planar battlefield, it was either you die or I live. Therefore, Jun Changshao didn't show any mercy when he attacked. If he could kill with one move, he wouldn't use a second move. Just like that. In just a few minutes, all 19 planar powerhouses were dead. It was a pity that no one from the falling star continent witnessed it. Otherwise, they would be deeply shocked. After all, the weakest of those killed by Jun Changshao was comparable to rank 8 Wu Huang. If it was a large sect, the death of so many mainstays would be a devastating blow. It might even be impossible for them to recover. Of course. If it was the falling star continent, Jun Changshao might not have the chance to kill so many. The emperors there cherished their lives very much. Moreover, with the current strength of the sect of all times, it would be difficult for dozens of emperors to fight unless they were in a life-or-death situation with the enemy. The 19 people killed came from 3 planar dimensions. One person got 300 points, 16 people got 160 points, and a total of 460 merit points. Whoosh! Jun Changshao waved his sword and looked at the planar powerhouse who was comparable to half-step Wusheng. He said indifferently, "There's one last prey left." More than 10 powerhouses from several planar dimensions had thought of him as prey. In the end, they became the prey. It was a bit tragic. The half-saint powerhouse said indifferently, "No wonder you dared to enter the planar battlefield alone. You have some ability." However, after a pause, he said with a cold gaze, "You still have to die." This powerhouse could have joined forces with others to attack earlier, but after seeing the Red Sea continent cultivators killed, he decided to stand by and watch. Why? Because this falling star continent cultivator was very strong. If he killed many people consecutively, he would slowly accumulate kill points. When the time came, he would kill him and obtain more merit points. Jun Changshao was very strong. This half-saint powerhouse guessed correctly. However, he didn't expect him to be so strong that he could kill 19 people in such a short time. But it didn't matter. Now that the pig was fattened, it was time to butcher it. Boom! Boom! This half-saint powerhouse waved his hands, and the space shook. Fist imprints condensed from top to bottom. Judging from the strength of the fist imprints, it was definitely not something an ordinary half-saint could compare to. Jun Changshao clenched his sword tightly as fighting spirit rose in his eyes. Since he had advanced into the apex of the Emperor realm, he hadn't fought seriously against a half-step sage. Now that he was in the plain battlefield, where the spatial barrier was firm, he could finally get what he wanted. Burn! My chakra, my little universe, my Haoshiku, my Hello Kitty. Sword chi traversed 30,000 miles, and a single sword illuminated 19 continents. Jun Changshao's long hair fluttered in the wind. The jade dragon asks the heavens shrouded in scorching flames suddenly slashed out, instantly forming an unparalleled sword chi. In the distant battlefield, the experts of the various planes all saw a dazzling light appear in the sky. It was extremely eye-catching. Sword chi. Although it's very far away, it feels very strong. Could it be that sword Dao expert? Let's go and take a look. All the cultivators rushed to the scene as fast as they could. As far as they were concerned, it was definitely an expert in the sword Dao that was capable of erupting with such a dazzling sword move. Boom! 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 The dazzling sword chi carried the power of an explosion and obliterated the fist imprints one by one. Seeing that his move was destroyed by a single sword move, the half-step sage's calm expression was replaced by a serious one. He thought to himself, this kid's strength is not inferior to mine. Swish, swish, swish. Jun Changshao rushed over with his sword and used the one-word speed technique again. The battle intent in his eyes was unprecedentedly strong. When the half-step sage met his gaze, he immediately felt a little guilty, so he hurriedly used his movement technique to escape. Once an expert made a move, one would know whether or not it was real. Jun Changshao's sword move had already made a half-step sage wary. As the Emperor of Swords, coupled with the Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's Sword, His current combat strength was definitely stronger than when he was wielding the green dragon crescent blade. Although he often played with blades. However, his sword Dao was the strongest. Whoosh! 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 Countless sword chi burst out like a whirlwind. Unfortunately, the half-step sage had no intention of fighting and retreated, so he didn't hit. Trying to run. With the mechanical armed wings and the power of flight, Jun Changshao turned into a stream of light and chased after him. In the blink of an eye, he had caught up. What a fast speed! The half-step sage exclaimed. Die! Jun Changshao shouted coldly and suddenly raised the jade dragon asks the heaven sword. His wrist suddenly shone and was covered by pieces of steel. Mechanical armed wings, battle mode activated. Whoosh, whoosh, the explosive sword chi slashed out. Not only did it reveal an extremely cold aura, but it also revealed a heavy power. At that moment, the whole world seemed to have lost its color, leaving only the scorching sword light that would be remembered by the world for a lifetime. No, the half-step sage felt a sense of crisis and screamed in horror. But just as he opened his mouth, his whole body was split into two by the terrifying sword chi. Puchi! The sword chi tore through the air and the split corpse fell to the ground with a loud bang, adding another crimson blood stain to the ground. Congratulations to the participant for taking down the first blood of the Fengyun continent. 100 merit points awarded. Congratulations to the participant for killing a black expert. 20 merit points awarded. Black expert? The feminine voice prompted, the realms of each plane are different, so in order to differentiate strength, participants in the dimensional battlefield are divided into heaven, earth, black, and yellow levels. Dear participant, the expert you just killed is a transformation void realm expert in the Fengyun continent, but in the dimensional battlefield, it is classified as black level. I see. Jun Changshao said, what level am I? In terms of realms, you should be classified as yellow level. So killing a higher level will give you 10 more merit points than killing someone of the same level. The feminine voice sounded. System, it felt a sense of crisis and panicked. Jun Changshao said, I'm the lowest. But from the battle just now, your true strength should be between earth and black level. The feminine voice sounded. That's more like it. Jun Changshao smiled with satisfaction. However, the half-step sage was only at black level, which meant that there were still heaven and earth level experts in the dimensional battlefield. Their strength was definitely comparable to Wu Sheng, or even higher. If he encountered them, wouldn't it be very troublesome? As expected. In a battlefield where the minimum requirement was emperor level, there were as many experts as there were clouds. Jun Changshao covered his face and laughed strangely. This place is very exciting, very suitable for me. He, who was using cheats, had a feeling of being invincible in the falling star continent. In the dimensional battlefield, emperors were everywhere, half-step sages were as common as dogs, and there was also Wu Sheng or even higher. The situation was different. Especially when he thought of being able to fight with them, Jun Changxiao's blood instantly burned. After killing 20 half-step sages, he obtained 580 merit points. The territory of the falling star continent below also expanded from the initial 2 to 3 meters to more than 20 meters. Jun Changxiao broke down. To expand to the size of a village, how many do I have to kill? The feminine voice sounded, Dear participant, the number of people in the territory determines the speed of expansion. The fewer people there are, the slower the expansion. Shwa! Shwa! At this moment, streaks of light flew over. Among them, there were experts who pretended to leave, and there were also experts who were disturbed by the sword energy. There were at least 6,000 to 7,000 of them. Humph! Jun Changxiao stood proudly, holding his sword with one hand. Killing 19 emperors and one half-step sage was just a warm-up. What came next was the real battle. Combat armor wings and the ability to fly burst out at the same time, and this guy actually ran away as fast as he could. Don't be a coward. The system said. Jun Changxiao roared, My head was kicked by a donkey, Otherwise I would fight with thousands of emperors. Chapter 843. Jun Changshao was very strong, but he did not think that he could fight against thousands of emperors alone. Thus, he could only escape and return to the safe zone when the time was up. Whoosh! With the combination of the mechanical armed wings and the ability to fly, he was very fast. In just a short while, he had left all the powerhouses behind him in the dust. Jun Changshao was quite confident in escaping. Unless Wu Sheng used space travel, no one would be able to catch up to him. Suddenly, he realized that his arms and body were emitting a red glow that extended into the sky. He was puzzled. What the hell is this? Martial artists from the Falling Star continent have killed 19 yellow-level experts and 1 mystic-level expert. They have gone berserk from killing. A Class 3 arrest warrant has been issued, and the reward is 500 merit points. A heavy voice came from the sky. A level 3 bounty order. This is a big fat sheep. All the powerhouses scattered across the battlefield heard the voice, and their eyes lit up. Apart from taking the first blood of a martial artist and killing a powerhouse stronger than oneself, everyone else would be rewarded with 10 merit points and 500 merit points. This was definitely a fatal temptation. Red light. All the martial artists within 100 miles of Jun Changshao saw the red light and immediately rushed over like hungry wolves. Dear participant. The feminine system said, you are now a level 3 bounty order. The red light you emit will expose your location at all times. Please be sure to hide well. Wax. Jun Changshao's expression collapsed. At this moment, the red light was still rising. Anyone within 200 to 300 miles would definitely be able to see it clearly. Only 20 people. Jun Changshao roared. I became a bounty order just because I'm in a killing frenzy. The system gloated. Host, you pinched the wrong time. It definitely pinched the wrong time. If he knew that killing people would make him a bounty order and expose his location, Jun Changshao would definitely not hide in the stronghold for 2 hours. He would quickly go out and kill, then retreat back. If there was no other way, he would use the teleportation gate to return to the sect of all times. But now, he could not go back even if he wanted to. The system continued to gloat. Easy mode was forcefully turned into hell mode by the host, ha ha ha. It's fine, it's fine. Jun Changshao calmed down and said, I have the mechanical armament wings, and it's powered by 2 cores. My speed is even faster. Escaping for an hour is not a problem. Who? At this moment, he released his spiritual senses and captured countless experts chasing after him from 3 other directions. Therefore, he could only escape as fast as he could. The system said sarcastically, this place is indeed very exciting. It's very suitable for the host to escape. Jun Changshao didn't pay any attention to him and focused on escaping. Chase! Don't let him escape, 500 merit points, I must get it. Tens of thousands of martial artists from all 4 directions chased after him with burning eyes. They couldn't wait to chop this 3rd-grade fugitive into pieces and earn merit points. Why aren't they fighting? Why are they chasing after me? Jun Changshao roared in his heart. The planar battlefield was supposed to be a place where all the major planes would fight and kill each other. But now, they were collectively targeting him. Who the hell had he offended? Dear participant, because your life is worth 500 merit points, 50 times more than 10 merit points, the female voice said. Jun Changshao ran at full speed and entered into a frenzied escape mode. At this moment, his blood was no longer boiling. There was only one thought in his mind: I want to go home. I want to go back to the sect of all times. Falling Star Continent. A few martial saints, including City Lord Han, who rarely appeared, landed on the ancient altar. They all frowned, looking as if they had a lot on their minds. High Priest. One of the experts was silent for a while and said, can't we reject it? Sigh. The white-robed elder shook his head and said, the will of the upper realm can only be obeyed. The planar battlefield has always been participated in by the higher-level planes. The overall strength of our falling star continent is relatively weak. Going in is no different from suicide, one of the Wusheng said with a frown. These experts, who were second only to the martial emperor, had some understanding of the planar battlefield. That was why they were frowning. The high priest sighed and said, even if it's suicide, we have to send 2,000 Wuhuang in. Only by expanding the territory of our falling star continent to a certain extent will we have the right to leave. Expand the territory? City Lord Han smiled bitterly and said, in my opinion, we won't be able to expand the territory. We'll be wiped out. Sigh. Several Wusheng sighed. The falling star continent was just one of the most inconspicuous planes in the universe. There were countless higher-level planes. Participating in the planar battlefield 5 years later was equivalent to sending Wu Huang to their deaths. If they only sent a few dozen people, it would not be a problem. However, they had to send 2,000 people. If all of them died, it would be a heavy blow to the already declining continent. Everyone. The high priest said, 5 years later, you should also go to the planar battlefield. Perhaps you can use your strength to expand the territory and reduce the losses to the minimum. That's the only way. Several Wusheng's eyes were filled with determination. They were strong, but they also knew that the experts from the higher-level planes were stronger than them. Since they were appointed by the upper realm, they could only bite the bullet and participate. Planar battlefield? In the heavenly mandate imperial city, Mu Changhong frowned. Yi Tianqing, who was sitting at the head of the table, said, I heard that this is a battlefield created by the upper realm to solve the problem of overcrowding. Once you enter, you must kill and expand the territory. Situ Haoyun shook his head and said, the planar battlefield is a place more terrifying than hell. Sending people from the falling star continent is equivalent to sending them to their deaths. Yes. Yi Tianqing said, the great war of the ancient emperors caused the world to fall apart. Our vitality was greatly damaged. If we go to the planar battlefield, our core strength will be severely damaged. Our overall strength will only decline further. Mu Changhong realized the seriousness of the matter. He picked up the letter on the table and said resolutely, for the continent, we have to go. The altar not only had to send 2,000 Wu Huang, but also half-saints and Wusheng. Even if they were weak, they could not give up. They had to fight for a glimmer of hope. They were obviously sending themselves to their deaths. Why did they have to send so many experts? Because according to the rules of the planar battlefield, if one side was passive or only sent Wu Huang, they would be punished. To put it bluntly, going to the planar battlefield from a designated plane was the same as going to their deaths, risking their lives. Of course, if they managed to survive the stipulated time or expand their territory to a large extent, they would also be rewarded handsomely. As far as the experts of the falling star continent were concerned, they did not expect to be rewarded. They only hoped to survive the cruel battlefield and minimize their losses. Then they would be thankful. While the top experts of the falling star continent were worried, Jun Changshao, who had sneaked into the planar battlefield through the portal, was running wildly with his mouth open and his tongue hanging out. Forcing him to this extent, yes, there were thousands of experts chasing after him. Just think about it. A dense mass of emperors and even half-step saints were chasing after him. How shocking would that scene be? Gou Sheng was able to achieve what he had today, thanks to the heavens and the earth. The system was still gloating. Hurry up and burn your chakra, burn your little universe, and burn your Haoshiku. Chapter 844. Although Jun Changshao was in a very difficult situation, it was still a bit difficult to chase him down with the armed wings and the ability to fly. However, the red light broke through the sky, exposing his position at all times. More and more experts were surging over from all directions. It was truly a place where danger lurked everywhere. In fact, Jun Changshao could use the hard blade, but the effect of this thing had not been tested yet. As for whether it was fierce or not, if he fell into a serious weakened state, he would definitely die in the danger zone. Where do you think you're going? Huh. While thinking, energy suddenly erupted from the right side, and dense fist and palm prints pressed down. Get out of here. Jun Changshao slashed out with his sword, instantly breaking the incoming attack and killing the few martial emperors who were blocking his way on the spot. This scene of being surrounded appeared several times in just 10 minutes. He killed a lot of people in succession. Although his merit points increased, his body became redder. Sect Master Jun was the emperor's favorite right now. Moreover, he was the kind of person whose radiance could pierce through the heavens and earth. It was easy for others to spot him. Swish! Swish! More and more experts charged over. For 500 merit points, they would never give up. Seeing more and more strong people joining in to chase him, Jun Changshao roared in his heart, how much longer? The system said, there are still 10 minutes to enter the safe zone. It's about time. Jun Changshao sped up and suddenly turned around in midair, flying toward the falling star continent's stronghold at full speed. He secretly calculated that the time to reach there should be just right. The system said, I don't want to discourage the host, but I have to say something. If they surround the stronghold, what should we do? Fuck. Jun Changshao collapsed. This, he did not think of. Damn it. Jun Changshao's body suddenly emitted endless killing intent, and said, if the stronghold is surrounded, I can only kill my way out. Without the help of Wu Sheng, he could escape to the ends of the earth. However, the energy would eventually dry up, and the red light would always expose his position, attracting more strong people. So, if he wanted to live, he had to return to the safe zone. The system guessed right. When Jun Changshao flew toward the falling star continent's stronghold at full speed, he saw at least 1,000 strong people floating in midair, surrounding the stronghold. Damn it! He said decisively, fight. The mechanical wings combat and defense forms were activated, and the 9 phosphor armor and spirit armor were covered in layers. At this moment, Jun Changshao was in his strongest state. At the peak of Hua Mountain to challenge 2 evil sects' big shots, he had even used the rocket launcher, but that was mainly used to scare people to make them give up their territory and pay tribute. At this moment, to survive in the dimensional battlefield, to survive. Since the safe zone had been sealed off, they had to kill their way out no matter what. Otherwise, if they wandered around the danger zone, they would die sooner or later. The Eternal Sect needed to develop, and he was still single. How could he die in this place? The system said, it's better for the host to die, because it's too difficult to be single. Jun Changshao ignored the system's complaints. His eyes gradually turned red, and his whole body was covered in scorching flames. He was like a fire god that would burn anyone who touched him. That kid is here. I knew he would return to the stronghold. The eyes of the 1,000-strong martial artists guarding the falling star continent were burning. At this moment, they did not care about Jun Changshao, who was covered in flames. Instead, they treated him as the 500 merit points that could fly. Formation. One of the experts from the other plane shouted. Whoosh! Whoosh! More than 20 strong people flew out, unsheathing their swords, and immediately set up some kind of sword formation. Die, all of you! Jun Changshao roared angrily, and his right arm, which was in combat form, suddenly swung Jade Dragon asks the heavens, dragging out a dazzling sword aura. This attack was even more powerful than the one that killed the half-saint just now. One could clearly see the slender sword mark left on the thick spatial barrier. Ta! Ta! At this moment, 2 strong people from the wasteland continent stepped on the ground, and 2 ancient giant shadows appeared. They immediately raised their hands to meet the sharp sword aura. Boom! Boom! An earth-shaking explosion was heard. When everything calmed down, the 2 giants had already been destroyed by the sword aura. Thump! 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 The 2 strong people from the wasteland continent retreated, holding their chests and vomiting blood. Their eyes were filled with shock. They were Xian experts, and the ancient giants were also the strongest defensive Dharma Laksana of the wasteland continent. Now that they had released them together, they could not even withstand one attack from that guy. Jun Changshao in his strongest state was not a pushover, but a hedgehog full of spikes. 3000 Sword Manipulation Technique. At this moment, the dozens of swordsmen in the formation threw out their swords. In an instant, 3000 sword auras appeared like peacocks spreading their tails. Then, they formed a rain of swords and charged toward Jun Changshao. Whoosh! Whoosh! The dense sword chi formed the momentum of mountains and tsunamis. Linear Speed Technique. Whoosh! 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 The dense sword shadows shook out and crazily collided with the rain of swords. In the end, all the swords were sent flying. Swords, come! Jun Changshao shouted. Whoosh! 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 The swords that were sent flying were no longer controlled by the swordsmen. They swirled and gathered above their heads, forming a giant sword. Showing off their swords in front of Jun Changshao was no different from showing off in front of Guan Yu. The people in the formation were stunned. In the next second, a strong ominous feeling rose. The leader shouted, "Retreat, die, all of you!" Jun Changshao was furious, and the Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's Sword suddenly slashed down. The giant sword that gathered above suddenly collapsed like a mountain, and with endless sword momentum, it pressed down fiercely. Boom! 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 The dozens of swordsmen in the formation could not dodge in time and instantly turned into a rain of blood under the sharp edge of the giant sword. At that moment, an emperor expert was as fragile as an ant. Congratulations to the participant for taking down the first blood of the Imperial Sword Mainland. 100 merit points awarded. Congratulations to the participant for killing 21 yellow-class martial artists of the Imperial Sword Mainland. 210 merit points awarded. The experts from various planes who were about to attack were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out when they saw more than 20 experts of the Imperial Sword Mainland fall. Roar! At that moment, the clothes of 2 experts from the barbarian mainland who were sent flying burst open, and strange tattoos appeared on their chests. Immediately, their bodies gradually expanded and evolved into the shape of ferocious beasts that were more than 60 meters tall. Barbarian King Transformation! Someone exclaimed. Kid! The Barbarian King Transformation expert roared, "Die!" The mountain-like palm carried a violent force and fiercely attacked. Whoosh! The other Barbarian King Transformation expert raised his right arm and attacked from the side, sandwiching Jun Changshao, who was flying over. Whoosh! The violent force was released crazily, and the entire space was almost distorted. When the experts from various planes saw this, they were all in awe. At that moment, they could judge that after the 2 Mystique experts entered the Barbarian King Transformation, their strength was probably infinitely close to the earthly level. This level 3 wanted criminal was probably doomed. Kill! Jun Changshao's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He poured power into the Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's Sword, forming a scorching sword aura, and pierced toward the large palm that attacked first. Puchi! The sword aura directly pierced through the palm. Chapter 845. Ah! The barbarian king who had his palm pierced by the Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's Sword let out a painful roar. Whoosh whoosh! The other palm came from the side with boundless power. Jun Changshao didn't have time to pull out his sword. He turned around, raised his steel-covered right fist, and punched the palm. Boom! The power exploded, and ripples spread out. The experts from the various planes all stared with their eyes wide open, because in their field of vision, the Barbarian King Transformation expert, who was hundreds of feet tall and possessed boundless strength, staggered back, and finally fell to the ground with a loud crash. Ah! The other powerful being was still screaming. Jun Changshao flew over and pulled out the Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's Sword. He jumped into the air and slashed down. Puchi, the thick arm was instantly cut off by the huge sword aura. Facing two powerful beings who had activated the Barbarian King transformation and were infinitely close to the Earth level, Jun Changshao was able to send one flying and injure the other. That was really terrifying. Under normal circumstances, he would definitely take advantage of the situation to kill. However, he was in a hurry to kill his way back to the stronghold, so Jun Changshao rushed back to the safe zone with his sword. The battle just now had shocked the powerful beings from all dimensions. When they saw that powerful being rushing over, they immediately retreated in shock. Everyone! Someone shouted. He's alone. Let's attack together. Whoever can kill him in the chaos will depend on luck. Okay. The powerful beings from all dimensions responded. Whoosh whoosh. However, just as they were about to attack, a dazzling light suddenly flashed in the sky. A huge palm came crashing down with rolling clouds. The powerful aura deeply shocked everyone's hearts. This is, one of the powerful beings exclaimed, an Earth-level powerful being. Jun Changshao, who was rushing over, also felt the terrifying pressure. He hastily raised his head and saw the mighty palm print pressing down on him. He immediately cursed, "You motherfucker," boom. The entire Crimson Continent shook and dust rolled up. In the sky, an elder in a green robe appeared. He emitted a terrifying aura, which made the powerful beings from all dimensions feel wary. This was an Earth-level powerful being. Using the Falling Star Continent standards, he was a bona fide martial sage. In fact, he was even stronger than City Lord Han. No wonder Jun Changshao was suppressed before he could finish cursing. After all, he was too strong and too fast. The palm came crashing down, and dust covered the sky. It's over. It took an Earth-level powerful being to deal with a mere martial artist from the Falling Star Continent. This is unbelievable. Disperse, disperse. Now that a level 3 wanted criminal was dead, the powerhouses of the various planes naturally wouldn't stay. No. Why wasn't there a voice notification? According to the rules of the planar battlefield, martial artists who were defined as wanted criminals would be announced to the world as long as they were killed. But now, there was no sound in the sky. Whoosh! Suddenly, a black shadow dashed out from the billowing dust at an extremely fast speed. The experts from the other planes immediately realized that the Falling Star Continent cultivator hadn't been killed by the palm seal. The Earth-level powerful expert was. Even if it was an opponent of the same strength as him, that palm strike of his would at least injure him. How was it that this kid was completely fine? He didn't have much time to think, so he gathered his powerful palm again and pressed down. Rumble. The ground shook again, and dust filled the sky. Whoosh! Jun Changshao dashed out of the dust again. However, the outermost layer of his spiritual armor had been severely damaged, and he looked extremely miserable. What are you waiting for? The system roared. Hurry up and open the store. Buy some items and beat him up. Jun Changshao pretended he didn't hear it and flew away. He didn't die. The powerful beings from all dimensions were dumbfounded. Kid! The Earth-level powerful being said coldly, don't even think about escaping. Whoosh! Whoosh! As soon as he said that, a giant palm came crashing down again. Rumble! Whoosh! Jun Changshao came out again. His spirit armor had been completely destroyed, revealing the 9 phosphor armor. If you don't want to use your contribution points, you can use your unstoppable blade. The system roared. At this time, it was very nervous and panicked. If Jun Changshao died, it would die too. The powerful beings from all dimensions were shocked to see that the kid could still run so fast after taking 3 consecutive blows from the Earth-level powerful being. Of course. There was no time to be shocked. They all used their movement techniques to escape. The 4th palm came crashing down. If they didn't dodge, they would be affected sooner or later. Rumble. Whoosh! Jun Changshao came out again. The system was about to cry. If you want to die, don't drag me down with you. Rumble. Whoosh! Just like that, the palm kept pressing down. Jun Changshao was like a tenacious gopher. He escaped again and again. After a few more blows, the Earth-level powerful being stopped in midair. The target had already entered the falling star continent. Plop! Jun Changshao slumped into a chair, his head bowed as he gasped for breath. The 9 phosphor body armor he was wearing had been damaged in many places. He could take so many blows because of his defensive equipment. Otherwise, he would have been dead. Old man, after a while, Jun Changshao looked up with difficulty. He gritted his teeth and said, I will remember this. I will pay you back 100 times in the future. Wah! As soon as he finished speaking, he couldn't suppress the injuries in his body. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He took so many blows. Although he relied on his defensive equipment, he also relied on his spirit to maintain it. Every blow not only consumed his spirit energy, but also hurt his internal body. Jun Changshao's meridians were all damaged. He could be classified as seriously injured. It wasn't that he hadn't been injured since he transmigrated to this world, but he had never been so severely injured. He had never been in such a sorry state before, so the anger in his heart erupted, and his eyes gradually turned red. Humph, the Earth-level powerful being sneered. You are lucky to survive after taking so many blows from me. But you won't be so lucky next time. His voice became more and more vague. He had disappeared into space. Crack! Jun Changshao clenched his fists. He remembered this expert, who was comparable to a martial saint, in his mind. He thought to himself hatefully, the day I become strong will be the day your head falls to the ground. This kid is really tough. He didn't die after being suppressed so many times. Let's go, let's go. Because Jun Changshao entered the falling star continent's stronghold, the warriors couldn't do anything to him. They could only leave. Puff! Jun Changshao spat out another mouthful of blood. He stood up with difficulty and walked toward the teleportation gate step by step. Dear participant, once you leave the dimensional battlefield, the falling star continent's territory will be seized. If you don't come in within a year, you will be forcibly erased. A feminine voice sounded. Jun Changshao stopped in front of the teleportation gate. With his back to the dimensional battlefield, he said, I will be back. Whoosh, his body disappeared into thin air. The stronghold had extended to a few hundred meters. The flag with the words, Falling Star Continent, in the middle was waving in the air. Chapter 846. Junior Brother Xiao, are we going to the Spirit Gathering formation later? Sure. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji walked out of the Tower of Trials. However, just as the two of them were talking, the teleportation gate flashed. Jun Changshao staggered out, then fell to the ground and fainted. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji were stunned. Oh no, the patriarch has fainted. Quick, quick! Go to the medicine hall. Where's Sun Bukong? Where's Sun Bukong? The entire sect of all times was in chaos. Jiangye and the other elders paced back and forth outside the medicine hall with their hands behind their backs. Their faces were filled with anxiety. Xiao Ziji sat in front of the stairs. Long Xiang, Li Tiantian, and the others were also very worried. Lu Qianqian leaned against the wall. Although her clear eyes were still cold, she could not hide the worry in them. Creak! After a while, the door opened. Elder Wei and Sun Bukong walked out with their heads lowered. They looked like doctors who had just finished an operation. They almost apologized to the patient's family. Sorry, we did our best. Elder Wei. Li Qingyang asked first, is the patriarch okay? Although he's unconscious, it's not serious, Elder Wei said. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. However, Elder Wei said, he needs to rest for a while. Ding Xingwang said solemnly, to be able to make the patriarch return with such heavy injuries, how terrifying is this battlefield mystic realm? Jun Changshao was unconscious for a day before waking up. Although his injuries were under control with Sun Bukong's medicine and he had the strength to get out of bed, his meridians were severely damaged. He could not use spirit energy for the time being. It was not a big problem. With the space-time mystic realm, he could quickly recover after entering. Although he had only gone to the battlefield for 3 hours, Jun Changshao realized that he was still too weak. The system comforted him. It's not that the host is weak. There are just too many strong people. Damn it! Jun Changshao clenched his fists as he thought about how he had been repeatedly suppressed by a martial saint's palm. This is too fucking frustrating. He was very angry. Revenge had to be taken. The system suggested, release all of your contribution points, buy a set of top-grade equipment, and go back to the planar battlefield to kill those bastards. Jun Changshao said, I'll wait until I complete the 2 epic-level missions and break through to half-saint before I take my revenge. The system wanted him to spend as soon as possible so that he could repay his debt. However, what Jun Patriarch thought was that it would definitely take a lot of contribution points to deal with Wu Sheng. Instead of that, he might as well wait for a few months until the reward was given and he reached a higher realm. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Jun Changshao said, moreover, my surname is Jun. The system broke down. What does this gentleman's Jun have to do with your surname? Creak. The door was pushed open and Lu Qianqian, who was dressed in snow-white clothes, walked in. She placed the bowl on the table and said, it's time to take your medicine. The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. Fortunately, he could get out of bed and move. If she were to take care of him, he would probably have to get out of bed and drink the medicine himself. Lu Qianqian said, since the planar battlefield is so dangerous, why didn't Patriarch prepare a heal pill? The heal pill has no effect on my current realm. Jun Changshao said. However, Lu Qianqian's words reminded him. The martial arts had always been changing, but the heal pill was still stuck at the middle grade. It seems like. Jun Changshao thought to himself, I have to find a time to refresh the shopping mall. The system said, do you want to release the contribution points? Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said, you're instigating me to spend now, you're getting more and more deranged. Sigh. The system said, the host is being abused by others on the battlefield, I also feel uncomfortable in my heart, so I urgently hope that the host can have more trump cards and become stronger. Fuck. Spending 50,000 contribution points to buy this planar battlefield teleportation gate is useless, I haven't had a good talk with you yet. At first, he thought of using the teleportation gate to sneak into other worlds, but the various planar strongholds were defined as safe zones, so it was completely impossible to go to other worlds. No. Jun Changshao only thought about it for a moment, and he felt pain all over his body. The system didn't say anything and entered the second play dead mode. Jun Changshao went to the space-time secret realm, and after coming out, his injuries were completely healed. Next, he put his thoughts on the construction of the sect. The planar battlefield teleportation gate could be entered anytime and anywhere, but it was nothing more than an instance dungeon. Finding an exciting place, the development of the sect was still the most important task at hand. The next time I go in, I can bring Old Ding and the others to expand the territory and activate the merit store. Jun Changshao muttered. After fighting in the planar battlefield, his merit points had already exceeded 1,000. He was now looking forward to the merit store that could be exchanged for various martial arts resources. Of course. Old Ding and the others were also very curious. What exactly did the Patriarch experience in the planar battlefield secret realm for him to be seriously injured and unconscious? What? Oh my god. Jun Changshao told the whole story. Suddenly, Old Ding, Jiang Ye, and the others who were sitting in the main hall were all dumbfounded. Emperors were as common as dogs, and half-saints were everywhere. This scene was simply unimaginable. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, I was injured by an Earth-level powerhouse comparable to Wu Sheng. Patriarch. Old Ding's eyes were burning. Can I go in? Not now. Jun Changshao said, after a while, I will bring you in together. Jiang Ye and the Ning brothers' eyes were burning. Although the planar battlefield was very terrifying, as a martial artist, they naturally longed for excitement and wanted to fight with powerhouses. Of course. Jun Changshao said solemnly, during this period, you must work hard to cultivate, because once you enter the planar battlefield's secret realm, life and death will be up to fate. Yes. Jiang Ye and the others said in unison. After the meeting, Jun Changshao called the Purple King over and said, how's your recovery? It's okay. The Purple King said, about 70 to 80%. With Lu Wancher's delicious food and various equipment to temper him, he was very close to reaching his pre-seal strength. Back then, several Wuxing joined forces to subdue him. This guy was definitely very strong. Jun Changshao naturally wanted to bring him to the planar battlefield to avenge him and expand his territory. Patriarch Yi Xingchen came over and said, can I go in? Jun Changshao pondered for a moment and said, if you can break through Wu Huang in 10 months, I will naturally bring you in. 10 months. Yi Xingchen said, that's a bit difficult. He was now a rank 8 martial king. Apart from He Wudi, his cultivation was the highest among the disciples. With enough resources and various planar battlefield secret realms, breaking through to the peak in 10 months was not a problem. However, breaking through to Wu Huang would take a lot of time. In fact, Yi Xingchen breaking through to Wu Huang was something that was set in stone. After all, he had done it in his previous life. It was just a matter of walking through it again. However, cultivation required not only comprehension, but also time. He had already comprehended it. All that was left was time. If Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others wanted to enter Wu Huang, they would need a lot of comprehension and time. It was obviously harder for them to break through compared to Yi Xingchen. It was not a big problem. With the body metamorphosis scripture and the 5 elements heavenly reflection art, as well as high-quality spiritual roots and various resources, breaking through was only a matter of time. Damn it! Jun Changshao clenched his fist and said, when I bring people in, I will definitely turn the planar battlefield upside down. Chapter 847. This trip to the dimensional battlefield made Jun Changshao understand that this was not a place where one person could play, unless he was strong enough to crush everything. No problem. Next time, he could bring people. Moreover, that female system also said that the more people there were, the faster the territory would expand. Of course. With the experience of almost not being able to return from the battlefield, Jun Patriarch naturally had to start preparing for a rainy day. First of all, it was okay to bring people in, but he had to ensure their safety. He could not really let them live or die in there. The system said, the host lacks high-grade healing pills, high-grade talismans, high-grade weapons and equipment. Jun Changshao knew that this guy was promoting, but he really lacked them. However, if he really wanted to get them all, how many contribution points would he need? Moreover, he could not use the dimensional battlefield to go to other worlds. As long as he expanded the territory and opened the merit store, it would be enough to see what was inside. There was no need to go through so much trouble. Let's get high-grade healing pills first. Jun Changshao made a decision and opened the beginner's store. The system said, it's impossible for the host to get such high-grade items in the beginner's store. Then where should I get them? High-grade store. Jun Changshao was silent. Ever since he had the ability to buy the high-grade store, he had never refreshed it. The main reason was that each refresh required 10,000 contribution points. The system said, although the goods in the high-grade store look good, there are not many that can really help the host and the sect. It is recommended that you refresh them instead of saving them for the new year. This guy was trying to stimulate Jun Changshao to spend money. However, it made sense. Currently, except for a few items, most of the goods in the high-grade store did not have the value to buy. How many contribution points did you bet? Jun Changshao asked. The system said, during this time, I have helped the host to bet more than 70,000 contribution points. So little? Jun Changshao frowned. When disciples challenged the life and death secret realm, they would get 1 contribution point for every disciple that passed. Now that a long time had passed, even if half of the tens of thousands of disciples succeeded each time, it would be at least 100,000 contribution points. The system said, the higher the level of the disciple, the lower the difficulty of the challenge. Some inner disciples will even team up with lower-level disciples to challenge the easy mode, so there will be no contribution points reward. The life and death secret realm was a good place for Sect of All Time's disciples to grind. However, after grinding for a long time and reaching a higher level, the EXP awarded would gradually decrease. Even the contribution points would not be given at all. For example, Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji. With the cultivation of a rank 7 or 8 martial king, if one attempted the easy mode, one would receive 0 experience and contribution points. Even if one attempted the normal mode, the amount of experience that one would receive was extremely small. Even if one attempted it multiple times, one might not be able to increase one's cultivation. As for the hard mode, although they could clear it and receive a large amount of EXP and contribution points, the Sect of All Time's members could not clear it without taking any damage, so the EXP and contribution points were not much. Right now, relying on the life and death secret realm to earn contribution points could only be done by the disciples who had just joined the sect and had just increased their cultivation, since they were at the golden stage of farming. Alright. Jun Changshao said, give me 50,000 renminbi first. Ding! Contribution points, 54480500000. Ding! Overflow of contribution points. Schwa! He pulled open the high-level store. Jun Changshao glanced at it again. After confirming that there were no items that he had to buy, he gritted his teeth and used his mind to scroll down. At that moment, his hands were trembling. Ding! Contribution points, 44480500000. After spending 10,000 contribution points, the items in the high-level store were all replaced, and the items that appeared were Origin Stone. Advanced Dragon Flame Technique. 8 Desolation Sky-Splitting Axe. Jun Changshao continued reading until he saw the item named Upper Grade Healing Pill Formula. His eyes immediately lit up. Look! The system said, I was right. Jun Changshao clicked on the introduction. Item, Upper Grade Healing Pill Formula. Introduction, after purchase, it will automatically be matched with the pill pavilion and obtain the refining method of the upper grade healing pill. Effect: when a martial artist still has a breath left, consuming the refined upper grade healing pill will allow them to recover quickly. Advantage: not only can it heal injuries, but it can also quickly replenish consumed spiritual energy, allowing one to instantly reach a full state. Disadvantage: restricted to martial artists at the level of Wu Huang and Wu Sheng, and only 1 pill per day. Price: 10,000 contribution points. It can even recover spiritual energy. Jun Changshao said happily, this is good stuff. The lower grade healing pill could only heal injuries. When a person was seriously injured and exhausted, and limited to dangerous situations, consuming it would basically have no effect. The upper grade healing pill could recover injuries and spiritual energy, which meant that when one was seriously injured, they could immediately recover and continue fighting with the enemy. I have to buy this. Jun Changshao did not think much and spent 10,000 contribution points to buy it. As one's level gradually increased, one's fighting style would become more diverse. As long as a martial artist was injured, his meridians would be damaged, and his spirit core would be affected. A pill that could recover spiritual energy was really a necessity when going out and fighting outside. Ding! The formula was automatically matched with the pill pavilion. Clicking on the refining introduction, more than 50 materials appeared. Damn! Jun Changshao said, this is too much. The better the effect of the pill, the more materials it needs. This is basic knowledge, okay? The system said. Jun Changshao said, 2 kilograms of meat and 2 hunger grass. How do you explain refining an intermediate-grade beast pill that is several times stronger than an elementary-grade beast pill? This. The system was speechless. Patriarch. Li Luochio walked in and said, "The hunger grass is far from reaching the collection standard. I'm afraid it will be out of stock soon." Jun Changshao, just as I was using the intermediate-grade beast pill to slap the system's face, you suddenly came out to slap my face. The procurement hall had been purchasing a large amount of hunger grass. Although this thing was all over the mountains, it took a year to mature. After a long time, it would not be able to supply it. Moreover, the merchants of Qingyang County knew that the Sect of all times had been buying it for a long time. They dug up the hunger grass every day, and the mountains had long been dug bare. Jun Patriarch muttered, "I have to think of a way to provide it for a long time." There were hundreds of thousands of ferocious beasts in Mount Iron Bone that needed to be raised. The intermediate-grade beast pill must not be out of stock. He definitely had to look for Elder Wei about the medicinal herbs. Jun Changshao came to the medicine hall and handed over the list of medicinal herbs to refine the high-grade healing pill. He said, "How long will it take to grow these dozens of medicinal herbs?" He did not have any medicinal herbs. But he had a lot of seeds. Moreover, the procurement hall had been purchasing them. As long as they were of good quality, they would buy them and store them for emergencies. In Jun Changshao's words, "I can wait for all kinds of formulas to be refreshed, but I definitely can't let the formulas wait for the materials." It had to be said that he had foresight. Otherwise, he would have to urgently think of a way to find the materials to refine the high-grade healing pill. In fact, Jun Patriarch could also plant all the seeds and keep them as backup, but the project was vast. Moreover, he did not know what materials were needed for a refreshed formula, so he could only gather the seeds first. Elder Wei looked carefully and said, "Although there are many kinds, the quality is not too high. It will take about 3 to 4 months. Let's plant a batch first," Jun Changshao said. The dimensional battlefield had a level limit, so it was destined that not many people could be brought in. It was enough for everyone to have a few pills, so there was no need to mass-produce them for the time being. Oh right. Jun Changshao said, "Send some people from the medicine hall to plant the Mount Iron Bone with the hunger grass." Elder Wei was instantly dumbfounded. Strictly speaking, the hunger grass was just an ordinary plant. It could not be considered a medicinal herb at all. Letting the members of the medicine hall grow this thing would definitely lower their status. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "We can set aside a grassland and use it to grow the hunger grass." The corner of Elder Wei's mouth twitched. He could already imagine the scene of a professional herbalist growing the hunger grass. Chapter 848. On a hill not far from the herb garden, Peppa the wild boar released its spiritual energy and went back and forth, diligently reclaiming the land. This place was used to grow hunger relief grass, and it was estimated that more than 2 million of them would be planted. Under normal circumstances, this kind of plant would take 1 year to grow, but with the seed-nurturing pond and sufficient spiritual energy and herbalists, it would mature in 2 or 3 months. It would not be a problem to feed hundreds of thousands of ferocious beasts, and it could even be sold. However, if outsiders knew that the Sect of all times was growing hunger relief grass, their jaws would drop. Everything is ready. Now, we just need to wait for the herbs to mature. Jun Changshao leaned against the chair, crossed his legs, and enjoyed his tea. The system said, "The host has forgotten the fear of being dominated by an earth-ranked powerhouse's palm in the dimensional battlefield." Fuck. Jun Changshao broke down and said, "Can you not mention it? I just forgot." "How can you forget such a deep grudge?" The system said, "Revenge is a dish best served cold, but you still have to take revenge. I will always remind the host." Right now, Jun Changshao really missed the female system that would kiss him. Whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, the sound of someone leveling up came from outside. Jun Changshao looked up and said in surprise, "Someone is about to break through to Wu Huang?" The disciples who were cultivating in the outer court also noticed it. They all looked in the direction of the aura and finally confirmed that it came from He-Woody's room. TSK. Jun Changshao took a sip of tea and said, "This disciple of mine is improving very quickly." He was not too surprised when He-Woody broke through to Wu Huang. After all, he had a super divine grade spiritual root and was very diligent in his cultivation. "He's faster than me." Yi Xingchen, who was about to enter the training tower, suddenly frowned. He was not jealous that there was a disciple in the sect who became an emperor faster than him. He was just wondering if he could break through to this level before going to the battlefield's secret realm. Whoosh whoosh, the leveling up continued for a while and gradually calmed down. Creak. The door opened, and He-Woody walked out. His whole body was emitting an emperor-level aura. His eyes were shining with a sharper luster than before. "Congratulations, junior brother He, for breaking through Wu Huang." His fellow disciples who were passing by all congratulated him. Coincidence. He-Woody scratched the back of his head and smiled foolishly. Since he came from the upper realm, he had always been humble and low-key. This was a stark contrast to Yi Xingchen, who had been reborn as a martial emperor. "Junior brother He," Li Qingyang said, "the patriarch summons you to the Great Hall." "Yes." "In the main hall." Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "Since you've broken through to Wu Huang, follow me to the secret battlefield realm." Battlefield Mystic Realm? He-Woody was confused. In order to break through Wu Huang, he had been in closed-door cultivation all this time, so he hadn't heard about it. Jun Patriarch said, "Simply put, it's the planar battlefield." Planar battlefield? He-Woody's eyes flashed with surprise. He had heard of this place before. It was a battlefield created by a powerful expert using a mystical ability, allowing cultivators from various planes to enter and kill each other. "Patriarch," He-Woody asked, "can we enter?" "Anytime," Jun Changshao said. He-Woody's mouth twitched as he thought to himself, aren't only the designated planes qualified to enter? When he arrived at the back mountain and saw the entrance to the secret battlefield, he suddenly realized. This must have been created by the Seven Profound Holy Lord using a mystical ability. He-Woody would always forcefully imagine things that he couldn't understand. No wonder he was the leader of the imagination trio. Jun Changshao not only had to bring his disciples and elders, but he also had to bring his contracted beasts. Thus, he called the little dragon and Xiao Moxian over and told them to use the limited time to strengthen themselves. "Humph," the little dragon said indifferently, "it's enough for Master to bring me. There's no need to bring a burden." "Who are you calling a burden?" Xiao Moxian's almond eyes widened as she fiercely pinched the spiritual cat. Although the spiritual cat was in pain, its face was filled with enjoyment. "I'm talking about you." "Say that again." "A burden, a burden, a burden." The little dragon repeated important matters 3 times in a very manly manner. The system said, "You are indeed worthy of being the host's contracted beast." "Master," Xiao Moxian said with an aggrieved expression, "this little bug is bullying me again." Jun Chang smiled and said, "Let go of your hand first. The little guy is out of breath from your grip." It's fine." The spiritual cat said in a hoarse voice, You can continue chatting." I can still hold on, pang. Pang. Xiao Moxian grabbed it and slammed it into the ground several times. She bitterly said, "I'm annoyed, don't talk." Jun Changshao, this little fellow that followed Du Nan had awakened an incredible hidden attribute. Little Dragon and Xiao Moxian were very strong, but their birth characters were incompatible. If they weren't bickering, then they would be bickering on the road. Thus, this gave Jun Patriarch a headache. This was impossible. After persuading them for a long time, the two finally entered a state of truce. Only then did Xiao Moxian leave with the spiritual cat. "Master." Little Dragon returned to the main topic. Its eyes were cold as it said, "I will become stronger and enter the mystic realm. I will torture that fellow that bullied you until he wishes he was dead." Wu Sheng. Jun Changshao said, this is a bit tricky. The Earth-ranked powerhouse that suppressed him, from the aura that erupted, was clearly stronger than Ding Xingwang and City Lord Han. It's fine. Little Dragon said, I can evolve. Now? That won't do. We have to wait for the right time. Jun Changshao opened the high-grade store and locked onto the advanced Dragon Flame technique. He thought, this should be able to make Little Dragon stronger. The advanced Dragon Flame technique was a beast-type skill that was suitable for fire-type beasts. It cost 10,000 contribution points. After giving Little Dragon the beginner-level Fire Rain technique, its strength increased significantly. This advanced skill should be stronger, right? Jun Changshao guessed. The system said, there are only good items in the high-grade store. There's no need for the host to think too much. Just buy it. Ding! The host has spent 10,000 contribution points. You have obtained the Advanced Dragon Flame Technique X1. It has been transferred into the spatial ring. Ding! Contribution points, 34480500000. The system said, you bought it just like that? In the past, when he tried to persuade the host to buy things, he would always be indecisive. Now, he bought it just like that. Happiness came a bit too suddenly. Ding! The purchased Dragon Flame technique was automatically matched with the Spirit Beast Pavilion. Jun Changshao clicked on the introduction. Beast Skill, Advanced Dragon Flame Technique. Effect, allows contract beasts to comprehend the Advanced Dragon Flame Technique. Requirements, 1/1 Fire-type contract beast, 231,100 Fire-type mid-level 9th grade beast crystal cores, 0/30 Fire-type low-level 9th grade spirit beast crystal cores, 0/10 Fire-type mid-level 9th grade spirit beast crystal cores. Jun Changshao then clicked on the Fire-type contract beast. The name that appeared was Fire Dragon. This meant that as long as he had enough Fire-type crystal cores, he could give Little Dragon the Advanced Dragon Flame technique. Fire-type crystal cores. He touched his chin and said, where should I find them? At this moment, through the entrance of the hall, Jun Changshao saw the Purple King who was heading towards the Spirit Beast Hall. He smiled and waved, Hall Master Z, come here. I have something to say to you. The Purple King stopped in his tracks. He had a bad feeling about this. Where am I supposed to find so many Fire-type crystal cores? You beasts should have your own graveyard. You can send your subordinates to collect them. No. That kind of place cannot be desecrated. Smack. Jun Changshao placed the spatial rings filled with mid-level beast cores on the table and said, Hall Master Z, please collect the Fire-type crystal cores as soon as possible. Understood. The Purple King stood up and took the rings with him. He was not going to kill his own kind for crystal cores. He was just going to the graveyard to look for them. It was still acceptable. Before he left, Jun Changshao said, bring some crystal cores of other elements. Chapter 849. After handing over the matter of crystal cores to the Purple King, Jun Changshao focused on managing the sect. Now that he had the healing pills, the next thing he needed to consider was whether he could help his disciples break through faster before the mission was completed. This breakthrough referred to the Emperor Realm. There were many experts in the dimensional battlefield. If his disciples entered and fought with them, it would naturally be more challenging than the life and death secret realm. Moreover, since he wanted to turn that place upside down, it was definitely not something that could be done with just a few people. If he brought hundreds or thousands of Emperor Realm experts to bully them, the scene would definitely be as beautiful as a painting. Li Qingyang and the other disciples are close to breaking through to the peak of the Martial King realm. I'm afraid it will take a long time for them to comprehend on their own. Jun Changshao murmured, if only there were Wu Huang pills. The system said, as long as the host is willing to spend contribution points, you can have anything. However, it paused and said, before that, you have to go to the high-level mall. Get lost. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes. In a high-cost place like the high-level mall, without hundreds of thousands or millions of contribution points, he would not have the confidence to go there. Sigh. Jun Changshao sighed and said, I'll take it one step at a time. Leveling up had to be done slowly. It was not realistic to become a fatty in one go. Patriarch. Li Qingyang said, Qian Songbao is here. I thought this kid changed his mind halfway. It had been a while since the God of Cookery competition ended, but Qian Songbao still did not report to the Sect of all times. Jun Changshao guessed that he might have been stopped by his father and went to quietly be a rich second generation. In the main hall, Qian Songbao sat at the head of the table. He did not come alone. He was followed by a middle-aged fat uncle with a big belly. Because he was too fat, his eyes were almost squinted into a line. This is... Jun Changshao walked in and asked. Qian Songbao was about to introduce him when the middle-aged uncle cupped his hands and said, This humble servant does not have much money. Shua! Jun Changshao sat down beside Qian Budwa at lightning speed. He extended his hand and said, Recently, there have been auspicious clouds appearing in my sect. I was wondering why, but now I know that Master Qian will be paying us a visit today. The system, Li Qingyang, although Qian Budwa was a little shocked, he had been through a lot. He smiled and said, Jun Patriarch, my son is lucky to be able to join the Sect of all times. I'll have to trouble you in the future. Pa, as soon as he finished speaking, he put down a spatial ring and said, Here are 5 million taels of silver and 20,000 natural spirit stones. Take it as the entrance fee. Her son was so rich. As a father, he was indeed inhumane. Patriarch Qian, how old are you? Over 40 years old. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, Jun is only in his early 20s, so I'll address you as Big Brother. When Qian Budwa heard what he said, he smiled and said, Then from now on, Big Brother, we'll call each other brothers. Big Brother. Brother. The system ridiculed, Do you want to take out the green dragon crescent blade and offer it to Guan Yu so that you two can become sworn brothers? Good idea. The system, Qian Budwa came this time to send his son to the Sect of all times. Secondly, he wanted to try the dishes cooked by the God of Cookery competition's champion, Lu Wancher. Therefore, they brought up the topic during their conversation. Jun Changshao went with the flow and said, Big Brother has come from afar. I've already prepared a feast to welcome you. Please. Please. Jun Patriarch brought him to the courtyard where he lived and arranged for the dining area to be in the main hall. The higher management of the certification center, such as Elder Zhou and Elder Zhen, only allowed them to eat in the cafeteria and arranged for Qian Budwa to stay here. This showed that he respected his big brother very much. Serve the dishes. Jun Changshao snapped his fingers. 1 He and 2 He, who had received the order earlier, walked in with delicacies and quickly filled the entire dining table. Meat, vegetables, sweet, spicy, everything was available. After all the dishes were served, Qian Budwa was not in a hurry to move his chopsticks. Instead, he sniffed lightly and said, The taste is not bad. Qian Songbao was stunned. His father was even more picky than him when it came to food. Now that he had praised it without even tasting it, it was a little unexpected. Jun Patriarch said humbly, It's just plain tea and plain food. I've embarrassed myself in front of you. Qian Budwa said, Brother, just this mouth-watering smell alone is worth a few 100,000 just to smell it. The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. Sure enough, in the world of the rich, everything was measured by money. Swoosh! Qian Budwa waved his hand and took out his specially prepared cutlery. Judging from the color, although it was not gold, it was definitely more precious than gold. Jun Patriarch began to seriously consider whether he should accept the system's suggestion and summon the Green Dragon Crescent Blade to become sworn brothers with him. Qian Budwa arranged the cutlery and then picked up a piece of red braised pork with his chopsticks. The moment he put it to his mouth, he stood there like a wooden chicken. That was right. His soul flew away. After the meal, the expression on Patriarch Qian's face was like a stormy sea, full of changes and wonderful. Smack! After drinking a mouthful of soup, he put down the spoon and said solemnly, "Brother, to be able to taste such delicacies in your sect, I have no regrets in this life." Smack! He slapped the spatial ring on the table and said, "There are 20,000 natural spirit stones in here. Treat it as your hospitality." "Brother," Jun Changshao said, "you're treating me like an outsider." "That's true." Qian Budwa took back the spatial ring and said, "Talking about money between brothers hurts our relationship." The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. "I was just being humble." How could he take it back without any hesitation? "Brother," Qian Budwa said, "my Qian family recently discovered a sizable spirit stone mine in the depths of the 100 Hills mountain range. I need to go back and take care of the situation. I'll take my leave first." A sizable spirit stone mine? Jun Changshao's eyes lit up, but he also said solemnly, "The 100 Hills mountain range is filled with ferocious beasts. It's very dangerous." "That's right." Qian Budwa said, "It's very difficult to mine it. Let's go back and think of a way." "Brother," Jun Changshao said, "if you need help from the sect of all times, I'll be happy to help." "You don't say." "I really do need help." Qian Budwa said, "Brother, can you send some experts to follow my Qian family's exploration team into the 100 Hills mountain range?" "Ha!" Jun Changshao was a little confused. Although he was very tempted by the spirit stone mine, he was just being polite. Or was he not here to send his son off or have a meal, but to ask for help from the sect of all times? "Of course." Qian Budwa said, "We'll pay for your help too." "Brother, when are you going?" "Half a month later." "Only your Qian family knows about this mine?" "For now, only my Qian family knows." "No problem." Jun Changshao said, "I'll send experts in half a month." "Thank you. You and I are brothers. You're treating me like an outsider." He did not mention that money was treating him like an outsider because he was afraid that the other party would not be polite and would not even pay for his help. Chapter 850. No matter what Qian Budwa came here for, Jun Changshao would definitely send people to help him mine the spirit stone veins. After all, he was so generous, so he would definitely give a lot of help. "Brother." Qian Budwa stood in front of the mountain gate and cupped his hands. "I'll leave my son to you. Big brother, please rest assured." Jun Chang smiled and said, "Brother, I will definitely nurture him into a useful pillar of society. Goodbye." "Goodbye." Qian Budwa came and left in a hurry. After watching him leave, Jun Changshao went through the procedures for Qian Songbao and handed him over to Lu Wancher. The little girl acted like a master and said, "From today onwards, you'll be a member of the cafeteria. You'll have to wake up early every day to prepare ingredients." That, Qian Songbao collapsed. "I'm very lazy." "Even if you're lazy, you still have to do it. Otherwise, you won't have anything to eat," Lu Wancher said. Qian Songbao wanted to cry. However, if he couldn't eat Lu Wancher's cooking, what was the point of coming to the sect of all times? "All right." He compromised. "I'll try." Peng the next day, the sleeping Qian Songbao suddenly flew out of the window and fell to the ground with a plop. Pa, the barefoot Xiao Moxian clapped her hands and walked out. "The sun's already up and you're still sleeping. Hurry up and go work in the cafeteria." Qian Songbao stood up like his bones were falling apart. Looking at the first glimmer of light in the sky, he collapsed. "The sun's still early." "Aya." Xiao Moxian grabbed his collar and coldly said, "Are you questioning this queen's words?" Boom! Boom! Before long, Qian Songbao arrived at the cafeteria with a bruised face. Lin Yao, who had already integrated into the sect of all times, pointed at several large baskets filled with ingredients and said, "Go wash the ingredients. This is too much." Pang! Just as he finished speaking, Xiao Moxian appeared behind him and punched him in the head. If I tell you to go, then go. Don't talk nonsense. Okay, okay. Qian Songbao hurriedly carried the ingredients and left. He didn't have much to do on the first day. He was only responsible for washing the vegetables before every meal. However, when he was done, he lay on the bed and cried as if he was paralyzed. "Father, I want to go home." The spoiled Qian Songbao had a hard time adapting to life in the sect of all times. Luckily, Xiao Moxian was in charge of supervising him. After being abused for several days, she was able to wake up early on time and help out in the kitchen. When he was working, the little guy's expression was crumbling. During the meal, the little fellow's expression was one of exultation. At this point, the cafeteria was further improved. Lu Wancher and O Yangjun were in charge of cooking, while Ma Yongning and Lin Yao were in charge of cutting the vegetables. One black, two black, and the other members were in charge of miscellaneous tasks. As for Qian Songbao, he was in charge of washing the vegetables first. Once he became more diligent, he would be allowed to cook. The people in the medicinal hall did not stay idle either. They began to plant hunger grass on the grassland that Peppa Wild Boar had cultivated. This thing did not require any cultivation techniques. After it was planted, there was no need to keep an eye on it every day. Occasionally, he would come over to weed and fertilize it. Elder Wei and a few of his core members focused their attention on the dozens of medicinal herbs that Jun Changshao had given them. Therefore, they began to work overtime in the medicinal field. Several days later, Purple Craggy Demon Monarch had returned with enough crystal cores. Shwa! Jun Changshao opened the Spirit Beast Pavilion and tapped on the high-level Dragon Flame technique. The word comprehension lit up behind it. Fuck off. I won't fuck off. On the inner court martial stage, Xiao Longlong and Xiao Moxian, the two enemies, met again and began their daily bickering. This situation was very common. Therefore, the nearby disciples did not come up to stop them. Do you believe that I won't beat you up right now? Xiao Longlong coldly said. Beat me up? Xiao Moxian disdainfully said, you don't have the ability. You, Xiao Longlong forcefully suppressed his anger and said, a good man does not fight with a woman. I'm too lazy to bother with you. After saying this, he turned around and walked towards the outer court. But just as he took 2 steps, his body suddenly stiffened. A strange message appeared in his mind. He had experienced this feeling before. Therefore, after he regained his consciousness, he said in a daze, I learned another skill. Huff huff. Flames erupted all over his body as he activated his second form. Xiao Moxian thought he was going to attack. Thus, she flew into the air and covered herself with her wings, about to use sky-filling feathers. Shwa! Suddenly, Xiao Longlong also flew up. His hands reached out from the flames and locked down below. He shouted, Dragon Flame Storm. Huff huff. The martial stage space below rippled. Fire attribute energy appeared and rose into the air. It constantly spun in place and gradually spread upwards, forming a tornado. Caw caw caw. As the intensity of the flames increased and the speed of the rotation increased, the entire martial stage was roasted red. The stone slabs were completely evaporated. Jun Changshao had just pressed the comprehension button when he felt the restless flames coming from the inner court. He hurriedly flew out and saw the martial stage destroyed. He collapsed and said, Stop stop stop. Ga. The flames suddenly weakened. Ta! Xiao Longlong landed on the scorched ground. He looked at his hands with disbelief, saying, this skill is terrifying. He had only used 20 to 30% of the power of the flames. If he had completely erupted, then let alone the martial stage, even the entire inner court would have been burned to ashes. After testing it, not only was the high-level Dragon Flame art terrifying, but its attack range was also extremely wide. If this were to happen in the planar battlefield, then no matter how many yellow-rank powerhouses came, they would all die. I can't wait. Jun Changxiao's eyes blazed. Especially when he thought of being suppressed by an Earth-rank powerhouse, he wished he could bring Ding Xingwang, the Purple King, his 2 contract beasts, and Jiangye to the battlefield. He wanted to find that fellow and torture him until he wished he was dead. Burning area. Internal Affairs Chief Li Qingyang was calculating the losses. Xiao Longlong had obtained the Dragon Flame art. As for how strong it was, it could only be perfectly displayed on a battlefield where slaughter was the main focus. Jun Changshao wanted to wait until the epic mission was completed before he decided to enter. Thus, it was destined that he wouldn't be able to display it for a while. Hall Master Purple. One day, he ordered, Family Head Qian has discovered a spirit stone mine in the 100 Mound Mountains. Bring old Niu and the others there to help. 100 Mound Mountains? The Purple King's eyes turned cold when he heard this. What's wrong? Jun Changshao asked. The Purple King said in a low voice, a spirit beast comparable to Wuxing lives in the 100 Mound Mountains. It calls itself the King of 100 Mound. Back then, I went to recruit it, but I was rejected. Is that so? Jun Changshao frowned. He had promised Qian Budwa to help him excavate the mine because he wanted Zi Huan to help. After all, he was a demon king. Now that there was a powerful spirit beast that didn't submit to him, the problem was a little tricky. If that's the case, Jun Changshao said, just take it down. The Purple King said solemnly, this King of 100 Mound is very strong and very cunning. It'll be very difficult to subdue it. It seems that when you went to recruit it, you either suffered a loss or failed to gain any advantage, Jun Changshao said. Humph, the Purple King said coldly, at that time, I had just descended from the upper realm. My cultivation and strength were greatly reduced. Otherwise, I could have crushed it with a finger. Obviously, Jun Changshao had guessed correctly. This guy not only failed to recruit the King of 100 Mound, but he also suffered a loss. Even Hall leader Z can't do anything about it. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, if we can subdue the King of 100 Mound, it'll be a great help. A few days later, outside the 100 Mound Mountains, Jun Changshao walked over. Behind him were 2 contracted beasts, including Old Ding, Gong Sun Haohai, and Jiangye. There were also 5,000 members of the War Cavalry Hall led by Shuiren Gui and Tao Yuan, as well as core disciples like Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji. Qian Budwa and the Qian family's experts were also with them. Every time they saw this lineup, they would break down and think to themselves, isn't it just mining a spirit stone mine? Is there a need to make such a big fuss? P.S. Looking for monthly votes, looking for recommendation votes. Chapter 851. The 100 Hills mountain range was vast and stretched across several states. However, the most dangerous place was the deepest part because it was known as the Beast Paradise. Although there were many herbs, ores, and other resources, no one dared to collect them. Moreover, there was a strange thing about the 100 Hills mountain range. As soon as a martial artist entered, the dire beasts would attack as if they had received some kind of order. Jun Changshao had heard about this place before. When he learned about the King of 100 Hills from the Purple King, he guessed that it was behind the collective attack of the dire beasts. Rustle. In the dark forest, 5,000 members of the War Cavalry Hall stepped on the wet ground and walked step by step. After Shuiren Gui and Tao Yuan's training, they seemed to have transformed into special forces fighting in the forest. Brother, Qian Budwa praised, these disciples of yours are not simple. The Qian family had brought many masters, but compared to the members of the War Cavalry Hall, they paled in comparison. They're all right. Jun Changshao said humbly. Patriarch. Jiangye stopped and said, there's a pack of wolf beasts 20 miles away. There are about 5,000 to 6,000 of them. Stay alert. Jun Changshao immediately ordered. Swoosh! Swoosh! The members of the War Cavalry Hall unleashed their auras and materialized black armor in front of them. This speed, this efficiency. Without long and strict training, it was impossible to form in a short time. Caw! Xiao Ziji had already set up his AWM sniper rifle and carried a modified rocket launcher on his back. However, the entire sect of all times was on high alert. One of the Qian family's masters muttered, "There's a restriction in the forest that restricts the spread of spiritual senses. Can he reach 20 miles? Others could not. Jiang Ye could. Because he had a primordial spirit. Ever since he inherited this physique in the Fatality Tower, his spiritual senses had become stronger and stronger. Even in the dark forest with many restrictions, he could still explore very far. Li Qingyang and the others had been strengthening their physiques while cultivating, and now they were basically seeing results. For example, Xiao Ziji. The great wasteland in his dantian had already materialized. Although the scale was very small, the power it formed had already begun to increase his defense. Every day, after tempering his body, he could clearly feel the changes in his muscles, blood vessels, and even his pores. Another example was Zhou Hong. After inheriting the sword transformation constitution, his understanding of swordsmanship had improved tremendously. Even Su Xiaoma, who was undercover in Taishan Xingzong, was constantly trying to comprehend the body of fierce wind. Yi Xingchen was the happiest of them all. After inheriting the spiritual pulse physique, the speed at which he absorbed spiritual energy increased. Especially with the various martial arts facilities and the two mental cultivation methods, the speed at which he improved his realm increased every day. Although these physiques from the ancient times could not bring about earth-shattering changes in a short period of time, as they continued to comprehend and improve their realms, they would definitely bring about great benefits. Awo! Awo! After walking for a while, waves of wolf howls came from the depths of the forest, and the decaying air was filled with a murderous aura. The Qian family's experts instantly became nervous. Shua! Shua! At this moment, a huge brown wolf beast jumped out of the dark grass, and its eyes shone with seven-colored light. Seven-colored wolf! One of the Qian family's experts exclaimed. Jun Changshao said, "This wolf beast is stronger than the hurricane wolf." Ta! 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 After a while, more seven-colored wolves comparable to Wuzong walked out of the dark. Their number gradually increased to several thousand, and dozens of them were not weaker than the martial king realm. Under normal circumstances, wolf beasts at the spirit beast level would not appear easily. Now that they had gathered together, there must be something fishy. Family head. One of the Qian family's experts said in a low voice, "This is a little troublesome." With his cultivation, he was not afraid of the wolf pack. However, they had just entered the depths and were already targeted like this. It would be more dangerous later. Humans. Suddenly, a gloomy voice came from the mountain in the distance. "All of you will die today." The Qian family's experts looked up. They saw an even bigger and majestic seven-colored wolf standing on the mountain. They exclaimed, "Seven-colored wolf king." The strength of this big guy, judging from its aura, was not inferior to a Wu Huang. The Qian family's martial artists panicked. They might not be able to defeat a spirit beast of this level with their strength. He. The seven-colored wolf king laughed strangely. "I let those humans in on purpose. I didn't expect to attract so many of them." Hearing this, Qian Budua's expression changed drastically. He was still wondering how the exploration team he sent to the 100 Hills mountain range was so dangerous. How did they find the mineral vein? Hearing the seven-colored wolf king's words, he understood that this was a trap deliberately set for him. TSK. Jun Changshao took a bite of the apple and said, "Your spirit beast is a little cunning." The purple king said disdainfully, "Like master, like subordinate. It's not strange at all." The seven-colored wolf king turned its head and sneered. "Isn't this the guy who was chased away by my king back then? How dare he come again?" The purple king clenched his fists. Thinking back to when the king of 100 Hills used despicable means to trick him, he could not suppress his anger. Looks like this seven-colored wolf king is that guy's subordinate. Since it's an enemy, there's no need to show mercy. Crunch. Jun Changshao took another bite of the apple and waved his hand. Kill them all. Boom! Boom! As soon as he said that, a deafening explosion was heard. The Qian family's experts were shocked to the point that their faces turned pale. Then, they gradually widened their eyes. Because where the wolf pack gathered, a strong wind was blowing, and the rolling dust formed a mushroom shape and extended into the sky. What? What's going on? Gradually, everything returned to normal. A huge pit appeared, and the thousands of wolf beasts that gathered together disappeared. Crystal cores were scattered all over the ground. Swoosh! Xiao Ziji placed the rocket launcher on the ground and started to charge it. Everyone in the sect of all times was calm, while Qian Budwa and the Qian family's experts were stunned. The seven-colored Wolf King was also dumbfounded. Its eyes were filled with fear. It wanted to order its subordinates to attack and tear this group of humans into pieces, but in an instant, they were all annihilated. This plot was not right. The situation was tense. Run! Swoosh! The seven-colored Wolf King made the right choice in the shortest time. It turned around and was about to escape into the depths of the forest. But as soon as it turned around, it saw Ding Xingwang and Gong Sun Haohai. One was sitting on a rock, the other was leaning against the mountain wall, smiling with their hands crossed. When did these two humans appear? Why didn't it notice them at all? Swoosh! Without hesitation, it ran to the side. But as soon as it turned around, old Ding's palm hit it directly. Then, the poor big guy tilted its head and fell from the mountain, landing in front of everyone's feet. Qian Budwa, the Qian family's experts, a spirit beast comparable to Wu Huang, was so weak in front of the weathered elder. Jun Changshao jumped and landed on the half-dead seven-colored Wolf King. He crossed his hands and said loudly, "King of 100 Hills, are you satisfied with my greeting gift?" Chapter 852. In fact, Jun Changshao and the others had already been tracked when they came in. A large number of ferocious beasts in the depths had received orders to move. The thousands of wolves were just the first obstacle. There were many more powerful ferocious beasts waiting for them. Since the other party had given them such hospitality, Jun Changshao had to return the favor. Therefore, he ordered Xiao Ziji to use the rocket launcher to kill the wolves and use the Rainbow Wolf King as a temporary seat. Fastidious people. They would not lose their way no matter where they went. They were not too polite and did not use the more destructive field artillery. Jun Patriarch was fastidious, but Qian Budwa and the Qian family experts were stunned. They had already imagined being attacked by the wolf beasts and fighting them crazily, but they were all killed cleanly. As for the Rainbow Wolf King that was comparable to an emperor tier, it was even slapped to the point that it could not take care of itself. Shock, shock. All kinds of emotions rose in the hearts of the Qian family experts. In terms of showing off, they were better than the passers-by. This was worthy of praise. Kid. A heavy voice came from the depths of the forest. I don't want to go against you. Leave the 100 Hills Mountains quickly. 100 Hills Kid. The Purple King clenched his fists and said angrily, "Get out here." Ha! The voice came again. Loser, what are you being so arrogant for? The Purple King was so angry that he gritted his teeth. However, he heard Jun Changshao say, "You are the boss of this area, King of 100 Hills?" That's right. The heavy voice said proudly. Jun Changshao said, "You deliberately used the spirit stone vein to lure me here. How can you leave just like that?" Humph, King of 100 Hills said coldly, "I'm already very kind to let you leave. If you don't know what's good for you, you can only leave your life here." Roar! Roar! As soon as he said that, angry roars came from all directions. Then, they could vaguely see large ferocious beasts walking out. The ground shook with their movements. The Qian family experts were so shocked that their souls almost flew out. There were not many ferocious beasts, only a few hundred of them. However, from their auras, they were comparable to king tier or even emperor tier existences. Qian Budua's expression became interesting. I just came here to mine. Why did I suddenly have to face such a big battle? Brother, he said in a low voice, let's retreat. Spirit stone veins were precious, but they couldn't compare to one's life. Right now, he wished he could grow a few more legs so that he could return to the Qian family as soon as possible and live his life happily. Big brother, you take them away first. Jun Changshao said, I'll bring up the rear. This, Qian Budua was deeply touched. You and I are brothers. If we're leaving, we'll leave together. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. This was because when Qian Budua spoke, he was already more than 10 feet away from him. It was obvious that he was ready to escape immediately. Big brother, it's not too late to leave now. It'll be troublesome if we're surrounded by ferocious beasts. Since that's the case, I'll take my leave first. Qian Budua was not a hesitant person. He hurriedly said, let's retreat. Swoosh! Shwa! Whoosh! Without another word, the Qian family's experts turned around and fled at top speed. Each of them was faster than the other. After all, their strength was only at the level of Wuzong and Martial King. In the face of so many high-level spirit beasts, they naturally didn't have the courage to fight. Patriarch. Jiangye retracted his spiritual thoughts and said, they've already left. Jun Changshao placed his hands on his forehead and then stroked the back of his head. The Jade Dragon asks the Heaven's Sword appeared out of thin air and stabbed into the Rainbow Wolf King's body. A devilish smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said, you guys can go all out now. Whoosh! Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the cultivation of the War Cavalry Hall's Martial King level erupted. In an instant, all the hostility in the air was completely suppressed. Stomp! 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 Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, Li Fei, Tian Qi, Long Xiang, Song Xianzhou, Zhou Hong, and the others stepped out. They clenched their fists and their eyes were filled with an unprecedented strong fighting spirit. Although they often trained in the life and death secret realm, those were all illusions. Now that they were in the forest full of ferocious beasts, they should be able to fight to their heart's content. Stomp! Yi Xingchen walked out from the gap between his fellow disciples and stood at the front. He said coldly, leave this group of trash to me. At that moment, the sect of all time seemed to have unlocked an ancient seal and turned into demons from hell. Seeing that the humans suddenly became more terrifying than them, the spirit beasts panicked. Go! Jun Changshao waved his hand. Boom! Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, an explosion came from the side. A spirit beast comparable to a peak Martial King flew out and crashed into the mountain wall. Its chest was penetrated and it died. He Wudi stood in the same place with a fist, but in his hand was a warm crystal core. The moment he made contact with the target, his fist turned into a claw and directly pierced through the target's flesh and took out the crystal core. The whole process was as fast as lightning. From this move alone, He Wudi, who had just broken through not long ago, was much stronger than the ordinary Wu Huang. Boom! Boom! On the other side, Li Qingyang and the others had already made their moves. All kinds of energy exploded, dyeing the ancient forest. Roar! Roar! The spirit beasts also received the order and crazily attacked the humans. Although their bodies were very large, their aura was comparable to the core disciples of the sect of all times. They were easily defeated. Of course. In reality, they were also instantly defeated. As long as a spirit beast was targeted, as long as it was comparable to a martial king, it would be unlocked and fall to the ground. Screech! A sharp cry came from the sky. Dozens of eagle-like spirit beasts swooped down quickly. Their target was Jun Changshao, who was sitting on the Rainbow Wolf King. To catch bandits, first catch the leader. Careful! Jun Changshao was still sitting on the Rainbow Wolf King, indifferent. When the dozens of eagle beasts were about to approach, the barefooted Xiao Maxian jumped over. Her clear eyes suddenly became abnormally sharp. Killer move Eagle Queen's contempt. When the eagle beasts saw this, they were so scared that they flapped their wings to stop. Huff huff. At this moment, there was a sudden burst of heat from the side. A large palm condensed from flames violently grabbed at them. Bang! 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 The 5 fingers of the large flaming hand closed together, and the dozens of eagle beasts that were bound by it all collapsed. Even the scattered crystal cores were incinerated. How dare you hurt my master? Little Long Long, who had entered his second form, poked out from the flames and said coldly, "You must be tired of living." Jun Changshao said, "Next time, control the temperature. Don't burn the crystal cores." Yes. Boom. On the other side, Xiao Ziji caught the giant ape's fist and threw it high into the air. He summoned his AWM sniper rifle from his spatial ring and fired several times. The bullets accurately hit the giant ape's forehead, until the last bullet directly pierced through its skull. This kind of brutal physical attack coupled with a hot weapon was definitely very pleasing to the eye. Compared to Yixingchen, it was obviously a little showy. This was because this guy rushed towards several spirit beasts, sword light flashing, and all of them fell to the ground. In terms of killing, Night Emperor had many methods, but his favorite was still simple and brutal. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.